Chapter 1283. From Qi Heng's words, it was very likely that His Holiness already knew about this large-scale whale fall. Lin Yuan immediately frowned tightly. Lin Yuan was not surprised that the Blissful Sea Tribe had hired the 5 emperors. When Wen Yu was investigating the Blissful Sea Tribe, she had mentioned it before. However, he did not expect the 5 emperors' mercenaries to be stationed on the Blissful Sea Tribe's distant island. He also knew about the large whale fall below the island. If this matter only involved the 5 emperors' mercenaries, which was a top faction, Lin Yuan would not have the slightest fear. Even if the 5 emperors' mercenary group was on good terms with Coiling Dragon Valley, in the face of such a large whale fall, as long as the 5 emperors' mercenary group dared to snatch it, Lin Yuan would not be merciful. However, the relationship between the Radiance Federation's factions was very complicated. Among the 50 top factions, half of them were backed by the 13 Majesties. It was just like how the Brahma Worm Cage was backed by the Moon Empress, the Whale Ocean Trade was backed by Chef Supreme, and the Coiling Dragon Valley was backed by Bamboo Monarch. The top force, the 5 Emperors Mercenary Group, was backed by the Eternal Lantern of the 13 Majesties. Moreover, the relationship between the 5 Thearchs mercenaries and His Holiness was very different from the Moon Empress and the Brahma Insect Cage, Chef Supreme and the Whale Ocean Trade, and Bamboo Monarch and the Coiling Dragon Valley. The name 5 Emperor Mercenaries came from the fact that there were 5 Emperor-ranked experts in the group. Among the 5 Emperor-level powerhouses of the 5 Emperors mercenary team, 2 of them were once assistants of His Highness the Eternal Lamp. Later, for some unknown reason, he left the Lantern House where His Holiness the Everlasting Lantern was, and set up his own house. However, these 2 Emperor-level powerhouses had always been in close contact with His Holiness the Eternal Lamp. 6 years ago, when His Holiness the Eternal Lamp held the 10,000 Lanterns Temple Festival, the 2 Emperor-level experts of the 5 Emperors mercenary team were not only invited to participate, he was even seated in the VIP section of the 10,000 Lanterns Temple Fair. Therefore, this matter was known by the 5 Thearchs mercenary group. The 5 Thearchs mercenary group didn't want to grasp this great opportunity by themselves. In Lin Yuan's opinion, it was not impossible to tell His Holiness Longevity Lamp about this great opportunity. If that was the case, then this matter would be troublesome. Lin Yuan regretted not rushing to the scene as soon as possible after negotiating with Qi Heng and Qi Haitao in Sky City's Star Web private territory, and knowing that there was a large whale below the island. Qi Heng looked at Lin Yuan's tightly pursed lips and didn't even dare to breathe loudly. However, Qi Heng did not regret not telling Lin Yuan the truth back then. This matter involved Her Holiness. Even if Qi Heng had seen the power of the Sky City, he would not be able to do anything about it. He still did not believe that Sky City would dare to compete with the Majesty for resources. Qi Heng did not know what he would face next. Just as Qi Heng's imagination was running wild, he saw the youth who had been standing behind Lin Yuan take a step forward and ask, "Do you know when the experts of the Sea Tribe came to the island to negotiate with the Blissful Sea Tribe and the 5 Emperors mercenaries?" Hearing this, Qi Heng recalled for a while and hurriedly told the truth. "My lord, it hasn't been long since this happened. In my memory, it should have happened at 7 o'clock last Tuesday night." Upon hearing that, Lu Jie turned to Lin Yuan and said, "That's right. Young master, today is Monday. If it happened at 7 o'clock last Tuesday night, it would be less than 6 days ago. I heard that His Holiness the Eternal Lamp left for the Outer Realm a week ago, so it's impossible for His Holiness the Eternal Lamp to know about this." Qi Heng originally didn't think much of it when Lu Jie calculated the time, but when Lu Jie clearly stated His Holiness's itinerary, Qi Heng could not help but widen his eyes. His Holiness the Eternal Lamp had supreme authority in the Radiance Federation, and his whereabouts were the most secretive. It was impossible for outsiders to know about it. Even the 2 Emperor-class experts in the 5 Emperors mercenaries, who were in contact with His Holiness the Eternal Lamp, did not know his itinerary. But how did this masked man in front of him know about it? He even heard about it. I also want to hear about this. Why don't I know where to hear about it? At the same time, Chi Hung also keenly noticed that this masked man addressed Lin Yuan as young master instead of city lord. This showed that this masked man was not just a member of Sky City. He was Lin Yuan's servant in the true sense. Such a situation could indirectly show that Sky City's city lord had other more prominent identities. This identity could even let the servants around Sky City's city lord know His Holiness the Eternal Lamp's whereabouts. At this thought, Chi Hung only felt that his imagination was starting to become lacking. Chi Hung really could not imagine what identity in the Radiance Federation could achieve this. Upon hearing Lu Jie's words, Lin Yuan's brows relaxed a lot. His Holiness did not need to report any of his actions in the Radiance Federation to anyone. However, when His Holiness wanted to go to the outer realm, he needed to send a message to the spirit guards in advance. The spirit guards could not control His Holiness' actions, so His Holiness going down to inform the spirit guards was equivalent to a kind of report. Lu Jia was the spirit guard's chief guard Night Leaning Moon's disciple, and had the ability to come into contact with His Holiness' whereabouts. As long as this matter did not involve His Holiness himself. No matter who this matter involved, Lin Yuan would not give in. Lin Yuan was bound to fight for this large-scale whale fall to the end. This was related to whether the floating island whale could hatch as soon as possible, so that Lin Yuan could build a real sky city that floated in the sky as soon as possible. At that moment, Lu Jie continued to speak. Young Master, not only is His Holiness the Eternal Lamp not in the Radiance Federation now, but the 5 Radiance envoys are also not in the Federation. If the 5 Emperor's mercenaries have to report the large-scale whale fall to His Holiness the Eternal Lamp, the most likely is to talk about it to His Holiness' little disciple, and he, who is still in the Radiance Federation. Upon hearing Lu Jie mention and he, Lin Yuan recalled Zhongzai's call to Gulang a few days ago. At that time, Gulang and he had a conflict at the Class 5 dimensional rift outside Cold Frost City. Based on Gulang's words, Gulang and he were at a disadvantage in the conflict. Gulang had gone to the Class 5 swamp dimensional rift to search for dimensional life forms, so it was impossible that he did not have a few experts by his side. However, under such circumstances, Gulang still did not gain an advantage over he. This meant that he must also have experts by his side to protect him. In the face of the experts by he's side, Lin Yuan felt that even if his Void Shadow Fiend was at the immortal level, he might not necessarily be able to gain the upper hand in the battle for a large-scale whale fall. Once his martial strength fell to a disadvantage, he would be abnormally passive. After thinking about it again and again, Lin Yuan communicated with Red Thorn through his spiritual energy. He let Red Thorn use the Tongue of Relinquish to control Lu Yinshan, who was guarding in front of the breeding room in the swamp world, and ordered Lu Yinshan to find Bai Yen. If it really did not work, he could only release Bai Yen from the swamp world, as Morbius was unable to detect the true data of an immortal life form. Therefore, Lin Yuan did not investigate Bai Yen. However, according to the Void Shadow Fiend, Bai Yen had reached the pinnacle of Class 12. This meant that Bai Yen was already equivalent to a Class 9 Immortal Fae, in terms of dimensional lifeform grade. Chapter 1285. In the end, Di Wanqing saw that the first 4 words on the 6th line of the book were an idiom. Di Wanqing read it out softly. A high reputation attracts slander. Di Wantian replied, "Second brother, because of third sister, you've become more and more impatient. It's not good to be too anxious. Under normal circumstances, the news of our Whale Ocean Trading Company, having 2 undying experts, should have attracted the attention of your majesties. The reason why I decided to release this information is because the Sea Sky bloodline hasn't appeared in the world for too long. When I went to meet Master Chef Supreme, he actually mentioned the Sea and Sky bloodline to me. Spreading the news of having 2 undying experts can divert everyone's attention from Ocean Sky bloodline to Whale Ocean trade itself. On the other hand, it will also be convenient for us to recruit creation masters in a high-profile manner." I asked how to participate in the Radiance 100 sequence and spread the news that he would compete for the Radiance Envoy position. This is to give everyone a reassurance. In addition, the Radiance 100 sequence selection is imminent. The Azure Federation will send envoys to observe the ceremony. At a time like this, His Majesty won't have the time to focus on the whale ocean trade. Now, the blood oath battle between the Sea of Bliss and the Miao family has become the core of the Radiance sect's public opinion. As long as we participate in it, we will become a member of the public opinion. In that case, His Holiness Iron Hell, who is in charge of identifying the attributes of a faction, will immediately look at the whale ocean trade and immediately begin to inspect it. Our whale ocean trade cannot afford such an outcome. Before Third Sister succeeds, if what we've done is exposed, the sin-cleansing pond will be our final destination. Di Wanqing understood what Di Wantian meant. He also understood what Di Wantian meant when he told him to look at the phrase "fame attracts slander." Indeed, the current status of the whale ocean trade was simply too high. The slightest movement would attract attention from all directions. It seemed like the Miao family's beast creation garden had delivered itself to their doorstep. Even if whale ocean trade wanted to grab it, they couldn't. Di Wanqing sighed and said, "Big brother, I'm going to answer Miao Zhinshan's call, and then go see Third Sister." After that, Di Wanqing stepped out of the room. Di Wantian picked up the book that he had not finished reading and continued to read. Di Wantian frowned slightly when he read the last line. Caught in a cocoon of one's own making. He was no longer in the mood to continue watching. In fact, there was a more important reason why Di Wantian and Di Wanqing spoke so much. The Miao family's beast creation garden had a close relationship with the Moon Empress disciple. Otherwise, the Miao family's beast creation garden wouldn't have 7 more emperor-level beings. According to the Whale Ocean Trading Company's investigation of the Miao family's beast creation garden, the 7 Emperor-class Spirit Chi professionals had only been peak-tier Emperor-class experts previously. It seemed like it would no longer be a safe choice to target the Miao family's beast creation garden's creation masters. If it attracted the attention of the Moon Empress disciple, then the whale ocean trade might give the game away and fall short of success. At this moment, Di Wantian suddenly thought of the Sky City that was currently in the limelight. It was said that Sky City was on par with the Miao family's beast creation garden in terms of creation master resources. In addition, the Sky Castle was quite mysterious, and the outside world knew very little about it. In such a situation, if Sky City's creation master were to be lost, it probably wouldn't cause too much of a commotion in the outside world. Di Wantian decided to investigate Sky City first. Then, he would look for an opportunity to come into contact with the Lord of Sky City. With that thought in mind, Di Wantian's eyes flashed sharply. Miao Zhinshan, who was in the Miao family's beast creation garden, did not wait long before he received Di Wanqing's reply. It could be said that Di Wanqing's reply made Miao Zhinshan extremely disappointed. Miao Zhinshan only had 2 options. One was the whale ocean trading relationship, and the other was the Moon Empress disciple relationship. Since the whale ocean trade wasn't going to work, there was only one way to go. Miao Zhinshan looked at Miao Zhua and said, "Zhua, go and contact Lin Yuan. Agree to whatever request he has." Miao Zhua hurriedly replied, "Grandpa, I'll do it right away." Miao He said hurriedly, "Grandpa, I can also contact Lord Lin Yuan. Lord Lin Yuan and I." Miao Zhinshan interrupted before Miao He could finish his words. "Here, go and call everyone in the clan to the conference room. Leave the matter of contacting Lin Yuan to your brother." Miao He could only respond embarrassedly, and reluctantly turned around to inform the rest of the clan. Miao Zhua, who had just walked to the door, naturally heard Miao Zhinshan's words. Miao Zhua knew that he had a huge lead in the confrontation with Miao He. Even if he could not become a Class 4 creation master, his grandfather still thought highly of him. Lin Yuan was currently instructing Red Thorn to help organize the Wind-type Heavenly Maiden-grade elemental pearls in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. When he heard his phone ring, he revealed a smile as he had expected. Lin Yuan looked at his phone and realized that it was indeed a call from the Miao family. The person calling him was Miao Zhua, and not Miao He, which meant that Miao Zhua's position in Miao Zhinshan's heart was higher than Miao He's. After picking up the phone, Lin Yuan heard Miao Zhua anxiously talking about the current situation in the Miao family's beast creation garden. As the initiator, Lin Yuan was naturally very clear about the situation in the Miao family's beast creation garden. However, Lin Yuan did not interrupt Miao Zhua. Instead, he pretended to be completely ignorant and listened carefully. After listening to Miao Zhua for a long time, Lin Yuan was sure that Miao Zhua was really trying to curry favor with him. He basically told him the current situation in the Miao family's beast creation garden, without hiding anything. I have some urgent matters to attend to these few days. I don't have much time. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Miao Zhua's heart suddenly sank, and fine beads of sweat seeped out of his forehead. If Lin Yuan did not help, the Miao family would really be at a dead end. Miao Zhua's throat tightened, and he did not know what to say. Lin Yuan continued, "This matter is not difficult to resolve. It's not difficult to solve this problem. I'll help you solve it after I'm done with my work." After speaking, Lin Yuan hung up the phone. Chi Hung had been eavesdropping from the start of Lin Yuan's call. In the end, Chi Hung did not hear any useful information from Lin Yuan's words. Chi Hung would never have thought that the youth in front of him was not only the savior of the Sea of Bliss. He was also the savior of the Miao family's beast creation garden. When Miao Zhua heard the busy tone on the other end of the phone, he was relieved. Since Lin Yuan had given his guarantee, he would definitely be able to resolve it. The Miao family's beast creation garden could also be preserved. However, Lin Yuan had said that he would help the Miao family's beast creation garden after he was done with his work. If this matter was dragged on, the Miao family's beast creation garden would probably become a street rat. Chapter 1286. For a moment, Miao Zhua didn't know whether this call was good news or bad news. But no matter what, he had to report this matter to his grandfather, Miao Zhinshan, immediately. Lin Yuan could have helped the Miao family solve the problem in the beast creation garden. If Lin Yuan wanted to solve this problem, he just needed to say a word. After all, the Sky City Lord and the Moon Empress disciple were both Lin Yuan alone. However, Lin Yuan had deliberately delayed this matter in order to have time for public opinion to continue fermenting. As a result, more and more people came to know about this matter in the Sky City. Only in this way could he harvest the power of faith to the greatest extent. When the matter reached its peak, he would use his identity as the Moon Empress disciple to join the Miao family's beast creation garden. It could also add fuel to the fire of public opinion and trigger even more public opinion. He would be able to use two identities to harvest the power of faith. At the same time, he made use of the rivalry between Sky City's City Lord and the Moon Empress disciple to attract more attention. He also directed the supporters of both sides to go against each other on Star Web. Thus, through the conflict of public opinion, the faith of these supporters would be consolidated, and the faith of these supporters would become firmer, killing two birds with one stone. As for the damage to the Miao family's beast creation garden's reputation, it was not within his consideration. At this time, the killer butterfly had already flown for half a day. Lin Yuan could faintly see a majestic giant city on the slaughter sky butterfly's back, and it became clear in front of his eyes. This huge city was the Raging Wave City that Lin Yuan had never been to before. Although Stormy Wave City and Indigo Azure City were both coastal cities, the overall feeling they gave off was completely different. Looking down at Indigo Azure City, one could feel the romance of coastal life. Compared to the romantic and leisurely atmosphere of Indigo Azure City, Stormy Wave City looked much more prosperous. A large stretch of shallow sea was distributed outside Indigo Azure City, which made it only needed to defend against dimensional rifts that could open at any time. There was no need to consider the threat of large sea beasts to the city. This was because large sea beasts would run aground in shallow waters. If they ran aground for too long, their lives would be in danger. Outside of Stormy Wave City, there weren't many shallow seas as buffers. The edge of the city was all waters up to 1,500 meters deep. Due to the depth of the water, large sea beasts often passed by the edge of Stormy Wave City. However, it was precisely because of Stormy Wave City's geographical environment that allowed Stormy Wave City to produce a large number of rare deep-sea resources. At the same time, the deep water areas at the edge of the city were suitable for building deep water docks. The deepwater pier improved the trade convenience of Shocking Wave City and greatly promoted its economic prosperity. Raging Wave City was one of the Radiance Federation's 9 major cities that faced the sea, and it was often crowned with the title of number 1 city by the sea. In order to defend against the attacks of the sea beasts, the Stormy Wave City Lord had invested a large amount of money into the city's fortifications. Among all the coastal cities in the Radiance Federation, only the Raging Wave City's outer wall was 800 meters tall. Standing on the city walls of Stormy Wave City and looking down, any movement on the surface of the sea could be clearly seen. The 800-meter-tall city wall was 20 meters thick, and it was embedded with a large amount of hard metal spirit materials. Even if there was a large tsunami, as long as the sea level did not rise by 800 meters, it would still be safe. It was basically impossible for the seawater to break through the city walls and flood into Stormy Wave City. At that moment, the Slaughter Sky Butterfly's voice sounded in Lin Yuan's ears. "City Lord, we are now flying directly towards the distant islands. Or should I stay in Stormy Wave City for a while?" When Lin Yuan heard the Slaughter Sky Butterfly's question, he pondered. Under normal circumstances, when forces exchange territories, if the territory belonged to the jurisdiction of a large city, then the territory would be under the control of a large city. In that case, they would have to report to the city before exchanging territories. In other words, if Lin Yuan wanted to take over the Sea of Bliss's distant islands, he would need to let Stormy Wave City know in advance before the transaction could be considered successful. On the way here, Lin Yuan had learned from Qi Heng that this large-scale whale fall had just begun. It would take another 2 to 3 days to form an island whale embryo through the essence of a large whale fall. During this process, the Oceanids would definitely pledge their lives to protect the whale fall. Right now, the entire Stormy Wave City was calm and tranquil, which was enough to show that no one had gone to disturb this large-scale whale fall. Since it would take another 2 to 3 days for the island whale embryo to be condensed, going to the island now would just be a waste of time. Therefore, it was better to take advantage of these 2 days in Stormy Wave City to complete the transaction between Sky City and the Blissful Sea Tribe's remote island. Because the large whale landed right below the island, it was counted as part of the island. After the completion of the transaction, Sky City would firmly rule over any conflict that occurred during this massive whale fall. No matter which party wanted to take control of this massive whale fall, it would be equivalent to snatching something from the hands of the Sky Castle. After making the decision, Lin Yuan said to the Slaughter Sky Butterfly, "You're right. Heaven Slaughter or Butterfly, let's go to Stormwave City first." After saying that, Lin Yuan's gaze turned to Qi Heng. "Qi Heng, as a veteran faction, the Blissful Sea Tribe has been developing in Stormwave City for so long. They can be considered the local tyrant of Stormwave City. I'm sure you're familiar with the Stormwave Guard Captain. The Blissful Sea Tribe just won the Blood Oath Extreme duel with the Meow family in the Beast Creation Garden, and is in the limelight. If you ask the Stormwave Guard Captain out at this time, I'm sure he won't refuse. We'll immediately transfer the Blissful Sea Tribe's remote island to Sky City." Upon hearing that, Qi Heng nodded with a face full of agreement. "Okay, City Lord. I'm old friends with the Stormwave Guard Captain. As long as he's not busy, I can ask him out with a phone call." Qi Heng's face full of agreement was not an act. Instead, Qi Heng sincerely hoped to be able to transfer the Blissful Sea Tribe's remote island to Sky City as soon as possible. Lin Yuan's request for the transfer as soon as possible showed that Sky City was determined to win this massive whale fall. As long as His Holiness Eternal Lamp's disciple, Anha, also had his eyes on this massive whale fall, the two sides were bound to fight it out. Secondly, if the transfer was not completed now, when Sky City's City Lord and Anha fought, Anha would make him choose another side. Then, he would be completely turned into wax. By then, no matter which side he chose, he would completely offend the other side. He might as well hand everything over to Lin Yuan, so that he would not be forced to make a choice under pressure. At that moment, Lu Jie moved closer to Lin Yuan and said softly, "Young master, we'll split up later. I'll go make some arrangements in advance." Otherwise, if a conflict really breaks out, and the Sea Tribe's experts go crazy, the safety of Stormwave City might be threatened. Lin Yuan nodded, knowing that Lu Jie wanted to go to the Spirit Guards branch in Stormwave City. The active period of the Dimensional Rift had just ended, and the guard envoys stationed in the various major cities had yet to return to the royal capital's Spirit Guards headquarters. This was the time when the various major cities' Spirit Guards branches were at their strongest. Chapter 1287. Lu Jie arranged for Guard Envoy C to lead the Spirit Guards to set up fortifications so that they could deal with the turbulence that would arise when they fought over the large whale fall on the distant island. Ever since it had gotten on the slaughtering sky butterfly's back, the Mother of Bloodbath had been absorbing the blood energy of the creation breed phase in the diamond phase storage box, the prismatic tortoise, the ardent sun dragon centipede, and the shadow-bound lost snake. The moment the slaughter sky butterfly landed on the ground, the Mother of Bloodbath opened its eyes and spoke with unconcealable excitement. The blood energy in my body has reached its limit. I can't absorb any more blood energy. Otherwise, I might break through to Myth 3 at any moment. Lin Yuan's face lit up when he heard the Mother of Bloodbath's words. Just bear with it for now. After I'm done with this, I'll find a good place for you to break through. The Mother of Bloodbath's breakthrough to Myth 3 was a major event for him. Not only was it related to whether the Mother of Bloodbath could awaken as a favored spirit, but it was also related to its safety. If the awakening failed, the Mother of Bloodbath's Marquette Jade Spider bloodline would be activated. The Mother of Bloodbath was likely to explode under the impact of the Sky Corona Jade Spider bloodline. He had to be very careful about the Mother of Bloodbath's evolution. After landing on the ground, the killer butterfly did not return to the swamp world. Instead, he was arranged to follow Lu Jie to the Spirit Guards branch. On one hand, it was to protect Lu Jie. On the other hand, if there was something inconvenient for him to do by himself, he could ask the killer butterfly to do it for him. Chi Hung had already called the captain of the Stormy Wave Guard. The Blissful Ocean Clan was a local power of the Stormy Wave City. The Stormy Wave City was very concerned about the Blood Oath battle between the Blissful Ocean Clan and the Meow Clan. This was because it was related to the distribution of a large portion of Stormy Wave City's resources. Therefore, Chi Hung invited the Stormy Wave Guard captain, and the Stormy Wave Guard captain immediately agreed to Chi Hung's request. However, the dimensional active period had just ended, and the Stormy Wave Guard captain had too many things to do. The Stormwave Guard captain asked Chi Hung to go to his office for a meeting. Chi Hung led the way while Lin Yuan and the Mother of Bloodbath followed behind. While observing the scenery of Stormy Wave City, he listened to Chi Hung explain the situation of Stormy Wave City. Through his dealings with the Indigo Azure Guard captain and Ascending Dragon City Lord, he had personally experienced the benefits of cooperating with a large city. Stormy Wave City was known as the first coastal city, and undoubtedly had more resources than Indigo Azure City. In order to improve the fortifications of Stormy Wave City and resist the attacks of the sea beasts, Stormy Wave City had to be fortified. Every year, a large amount of resources would be spent on the Stormy Wave Guard. A large portion of the resources that the Raging Wave City allocated to the Stormy Wave Guard were used to hire creation masters. Although the Radiance Federation's creation master resources were much more abundant than the other small federations, the creation master resources of the Radiance Federation were much more abundant. Only the Freedom Federation and the Azure Federation, which were also part of the three great federations, could be mentioned in the same breath. However, having abundant creation masters did not mean that the Radiance Federation would not have a shortage of creation masters. The Radiance Federation had a huge population, but there were only a few creation masters. Most of the creation masters were employed by the major factions. The creation masters that were hired by the major factions would normally only work for the faction they were hired by. This caused the already scarce creation master resources to shrink again. The various major cities had always been competing with each other for development. Therefore, they would do their best to compete for the available creation master resources in the market. Lin Yuan wanted to see if he could cooperate with the Stormy Wave Guard captain when he met him in a while. He gave the Stormy Wave Guard captain the Creation Master resources that he lacked, and then obtained some of the resources he needed. It was a win-win situation. In a short while, Qi Heng brought Lin Yuan and the Mother of Bloodbath to the Stormy Wave's City Lord Mansion. The office of the Stormy Wave Guard captain was in the side pavilion of the City Lord's mansion. Before reaching the side pavilion's entrance, Lin Yuan saw a tall and thin middle-aged man striding out of the side pavilion. He laughed heartily with a face brimming with enthusiasm. "Qi Heng, congratulations to your blissful Sea clan for winning the Blood Oath Extreme Battle. I wonder if Brother Qi Heng has any plans to move the resources from the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden to Shocking Wave City?" Qi Heng was thinking about the scene of the city in the sky fighting with Anha, the disciple of His Holiness the Eternal Lamp. However, when he heard the words of the tall and thin man in front of him, Qi Heng's expression immediately collapsed. He was really touching my sore spot. I want to move the resources from the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden to Shocking Wave City. That depends on whether the City Lord of Sky City next to me agrees or not. The blissful Sea clan belongs to Sky City now. Perhaps Sky City will soon withdraw the blissful Sea clan's resources from Shocking Wave City. While talking to Qi Heng, the tall and thin middle-aged man sized up Lin Yuan and the Mother of Bloodbath behind Qi Heng. Seeing the masks on Lin Yuan's and the Mother of Bloodbath's faces, the tall and thin middle-aged man's eyes lit up. While the tall and thin middle-aged man was sizing up Lin Yuan and the Mother of Bloodbath, Lin Yuan was also sizing up the tall and thin man in front of him. This tall and thin man must be the Stormy Wave Guard captain. Through the conversation between the Stormy Wave Guard captain and Qi Heng, Lin Yuan knew that the Stormy Wave Guard captain very much wanted Qi Heng to move the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden's resources to Shocking Wave City. A large number of new resources pouring into Shocking Wave City could greatly drive the development of Shocking Wave City. However, the Stormy Wave Guard captain's hopes were completely dashed. Qi Heng silently criticized the Stormy Wave Guard captain in his heart, while preparing to introduce Lin Yuan and the Mother of Bloodbath to the Stormy Wave Guard captain. In the end, Qi Heng found that the Stormy Wave Guard captain had already walked past him and enthusiastically toward Lin Yuan and the Mother of Bloodbath. "You two must be from Sky City, right? When I was on the phone with Feng Dong, I heard him mention Sky City." While speaking, the Stormy Wave Guard captain extended his hand toward Lin Yuan. When Lin Yuan saw the Stormy Wave Guard captain take the initiative to greet him so enthusiastically, he knew that the Stormy Wave Guard captain had the intention to take the initiative to befriend him. However, Lin Yuan had no impression of Feng Dong, whom the Stormy Wave Guard captain had mentioned. When the Stormy Wave Guard captain saw Lin Yuan hold his outstretched hand, he did not speak. He immediately realized that the person in front of him might not know who Feng Dong was, and hurriedly explained. "Feng Dong is the Indigo Azure Guard captain. I heard from him that the Indigo Azure Guard in Sky City have been cooperating in the cultivation of phase." Upon hearing the Stormy Wave Guard captain's explanation, Lin Yuan replied with a smile, "That's right. That's right, our Sky City and Indigo Azure City have been cooperating in the cultivation of phase. Actually, it's not just Indigo Azure City. Our Sky City and Ascending Dragon City are also cooperating in the cultivation of phase. Compared to cooperating with other factions, our Sky City is more willing to cooperate with the major cities. This is also considered contributing a little to the city's defense." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Wang Si's eyes suddenly narrowed. Chapter 1288. Ever since the Raging Wave City Lord had thrown the Raging Wave Guard's construction work to Wang Su 3 years ago, Wang Su had been worrying about the resources for Creation Masters. Wang Su had been going to the Creation Master Association to issue missions, and had recruited some Class 2 and Class 3 Creation Masters. However, over a dozen Class 2 Creation Masters and 2 or 3 Class 3 Creation Masters could not solve the problem. He could occasionally recruit a Class 4 Creation Master, but the high price offered by the Class 4 Creation Master was unacceptable to Wang Su. If the Raging Wave Guard wanted to distribute resources, it had to be fair. During the active phase of the dimensional rift, every Raging Wave Guard put their lives on the line and used their lives to protect Raging Wave City. Every Raging Wave Guard was a hero, and there was no difference in merits. If the Class 4 Creation Master's price was too high, even if Wang Su could exchange for Bronze/Flawless or Bronze/Epic phase from the Class 4 Creation Master, if he could not benefit every member of the Raging Wave Guard with Bronze/Flawless phase, then these phase would lose their meaning. If the resources were biased, it would cause the unity of the people to fall apart. This was a big taboo when leading a group. Wang Su had also tried to find top factions or veteran factions like the Coiling Dragon Valley and the Beast Creation Garden that used Creation Master resources as a function. However, it was still the issue of the price that stumped Wang Su. Not long ago, during the call with Indigo Azure Guard Captain Feng Dong had gotten carried away and spilled the beans. Wang Su now knew why the Indigo Azure Guard could produce over 100 Bronze/Epic hot spring snails at the end of the active phase of the dimensional rift. After Wang Su took out Feng Dong's dark history and threatened to post it on Star Web, Feng Dong's expression changed drastically. Wang Su had then learned about the trade between Indigo Azure City and Sky City from Feng Dong. It seemed that Sky City only needed Law Origin crystals to nurture Bronze/Epic phase, not Radiance dollars or other rare resources. That was right. If Raging Wave City could not afford the resources, Indigo Azure City, whose economy was far behind Raging Wave City, could not possibly afford it. Therefore, as the captain of the Raging Wave Guard, Wang Su had been so friendly with Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan had guessed Wang Su's thoughts. This was why Lin Yuan had told Wang Su that apart from Indigo Azure City, Sky City was also cooperating with Ascending Dragon City. Lin Yuan's words were expressing his attitude. He told Wang Su that if Stormy Wave City was willing, they could cooperate with Sky City like Indigo Azure City and Ascending Dragon City. Wang Su naturally understood the meaning behind Lin Yuan's words. Wang Su waved his hand in the direction he came from and said, "Honored guest, why don't you go into the house and try a cup of our Stormy Wave City's unique sea grain tea?" Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan replied with a smile, "I've long heard that the Sea Valley tea tree grows at the bottom of the Raging Wave Strait in Stormy Wave City. I haven't had the chance to taste it before. Looks like I can finally enjoy it today." The mother of Bloodbath stood beside Lin Yuan like a door guardian. Wherever Lin Yuan went, the mother of Bloodbath followed. The mother of Bloodbath did not like to socialize and did not speak throughout. However, as a foodie, the mother of Bloodbath was still looking forward to Stormy Wave City's specialty, the sea grain tea. At this time, Chi Hung, who was left to the side, turned green. He was clearly the middleman, and he was the one who made the call to arrange this meeting. Why did he become a spectator in the end? Apart from saying a sentence at the beginning, Lin Yuan did not give him a chance to speak afterward. In fact, when Wang Su saw Lin Yuan confirm Lin Yuan's identity, he roughly understood Qi Heng's purpose of taking the initiative to invite him. He might be the Stormy Wave City Guard captain, and Qi Heng was a core member of the older generation of the Sea of Bliss native faction. Wang Su would always be able to meet Qi Heng at some large events in Stormy Wave City. Both of them had helped each other with some small matters, so they had some friendship. However, this friendship was definitely not deep enough to the extent that Qi Heng would immediately look for him to share his joy after the Sea of Bliss won the Blood Oath Extreme Duel. Sky City had helped the Sea of Bliss win the Blood Oath Extreme Duel against the top faction, Beast Creation Garden, and the Sea of Bliss had to pay a huge price. Perhaps the entire Blissful Sea tribe had already belonged to Sky City. On one hand, Wang Su wanted to talk about cooperation with Lin Yuan, and on the other hand, he wanted to find out what Lin Yuan said during the discussion. He wanted to see if Lin Yuan had plans to withdraw the Sea of Bliss's resources from Stormy Wave City. If that was the case, then Stormy Wave City's economy and prosperity would be severely affected due to the composition of the Sea of Bliss's resources. Even if they were to move, they would definitely move to another coastal city. Although Stormy Wave City was now known as the #1 coastal city, But coastal cities like Extreme Ocean City and Towering Wave City had the power to compete with Stormy Wave City. If the Sea of Bliss's resources were moved to Extreme Ocean City and Towering Wave City, the title of Stormy Wave City, as the #1 coastal city, would change hands. This was definitely not what Wang Su wanted to see. Just as Qi Heng followed behind the Mother of Bloodbath and was about to enter the house, the Mother of Bloodbath turned around and stopped Qi Heng outside the house. The Mother of Bloodbath pointed to the training ground not far from the side hall, where some Stormy Waves guards were practicing. "Stand over there. When the city lord is done talking, I will call you. Don't run around, and don't call to leak information. I will watch you." The Mother of Bloodbath waved its hand. A fingernail-sized red crystal spider landed on Qi Heng's head without any hesitation. Qi Heng was trembling with anger, but he was helpless. As a pinnacle Emperor-class expert, Qi Heng was much stronger than the Mother of Bloodbath. However, Qi Heng had to obey the Mother of Bloodbath's words. He did not even dare to take off the red crystal spider that was used to monitor him and place it on his clothes. However, when he thought of the upcoming conflict between Sky City and Qi Heng's anger dissipated by half. Wang Su warmly invited Lin Yuan and the Mother of Bloodbath to their seats. Wang Su took out 2 cups carved from winter shell essence and poured 2 cups of freshly brewed sea grain tea. He handed them to Lin Yuan and the Mother of Bloodbath while speaking. The best tool to drink sea grain tea is the winter shell cup. The winter shell cup can quickly cool down the sea grain tea, forming an extremely cool taste, but not letting the tea freeze. Sea grain tea will have a faint fishy smell when drunk hot, but when drunk cold, it will have the fragrance and freshness of seaweed. After drinking it, it will be easy to cool down, and the coolness will have a faint sweet aftertaste. Quickly try it. The Mother of Bloodbath took a tentative sip of the sea grain tea. After drinking the tea, the Mother of Bloodbath's eyes lit up. The Mother of Bloodbath liked the taste of the sea grain tea very much. The Mother of Bloodbath hurriedly continued to raise the cup and drink mouthful after mouthful. After Lin Yuan drank the sea grain tea, he felt that it tasted good. However, the freshness of the sea grain tea gave him the illusion that he was drinking seaweed soup. Chapter 1290. He intended to try and see if he could use the Spirit Lock spatial zone to nurture an environment suitable for the Abyss world. It did not need anyone to take care of it, but it could change the environment of the Abyss world on a large scale. Seeing that Wang Su had yet to return, Lin Yuan lowered his head and observed the steel spike iron clam that the Stormy Wave Guards had chosen as their standard Fey. As a defense-type Fey, the steel spike iron clam had been chosen by the Stormy Wave Guard, and it definitely had advantages that other defense-type Feys couldn't compare to. He used Morbius True Data to examine the steel spike iron clam. He was pleasantly surprised to find that the steel spike iron clam was very suitable for her current Fey system. The steel spike muscle's normal skill, Iron Thorn Cross Shield, had a similar effect to the yellow scarlet golden butterfly's exclusive skill, Tremor Counterattack. However, when the yellow Fey golden butterfly's shield was attacked, it would reduce the damage received, regardless of whether it was a magic attack or a physical attack. A portion of the damage would be reflected back through tremors. On the other hand, the Iron Spike muscle's skill, Iron Spike Cross Shield, would shoot out a large number of iron spikes after receiving damage. When the iron thorns hit an allied target, the target would receive a bloodthirsty excitement effect. Upon contact with an enemy target, the iron thorns would sharpen and deal physical damage to the enemy target. This was equivalent to the Iron Spike muscle, casting the Iron Spike Cross Shield on a target. When the target was attacked, it would cause an indiscriminate AoE attack. Moreover, when the attack landed on an ally, it would provide a buff to that ally. Just the Iron Thorn Cross Shield alone was enough for the Steel Spike Iron Clam to join Chu Si's Fey lineup. While Chu Si's defensive capabilities were being enriched, she would also be able to take the path of damage reflection to the end. With the Steel Spike Iron Muscle, Lin Yuan felt that his Iron Bucket Sister transformation plan could start at 4:00 p.m. With such a huge transaction with the Stormy Wave Guard, Wang Su probably wouldn't reject Wang Su's request for a bronze steel spike iron clam, with an excellent exclusive skill. Just as Lin Yuan was thinking about this, Wang Su returned with a gold face storage box. There are 200 steel spike iron mussels here, and only 100 of them are bronze ranked. The other 100 are only at the normal and elite tier. Speaking of this, Wang Su smiled without any pretense before continuing. The creation masters that serve the Storm Wave Guard have spent all their energy on increasing the phase grade and quality. In addition, the Storm Wave Guard will inevitably encounter danger during missions. Phase with damaged routes will also require a lot of creation master resources to maintain. Speaking of which, there are only 100 bronze steel spike iron mussels selected and cultivated by the entire Stormy Wave Guards. However, these 100 steel spike iron mussels are our trump cards. All of them have exclusive skills that are very suitable for outdoor combat. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan took the face storage box from Wang Su and checked the steel spike iron mussel inside. After checking, he found that these steel spike iron mussel's exclusive skills were indeed very outstanding. Combined with the iron spike mussel's normal skill, iron spike cross shield, it could effectively defend and counterattack. Even if the clam couldn't defend effectively in battle, it could still trade damage for damage. While exchanging injuries for injuries, he could also effectively motivate his teammates. At that moment, Lin Yuan suddenly discovered a pinkish-purple steel spike iron mussel among the many purplish-black steel spike iron mussels. This pinkish-purple steel spike iron mussel was especially eye-catching among the many purplish-black steel spike iron mussels. Furthermore, this pinkish-purple steel spike iron mussel wasn't a complete pinkish-purple mix, but a pinkish-purple gradient. From the outside to the inside, the color was constantly lightening, and it was abnormally dreamy. If the purplish-black steel spike iron mussel looked like a fat auntie wearing coarse linen clothes, this pinkish-purple steel spike iron mussel looked like a little princess wearing a lowly puffy skirt. Lin Yuan immediately flipped his hand and took out this pinkish-purple steel spike iron mussel. He then used Morbius ability, True Data, to check on this obviously mutated pinkish-purple steel spike iron mussel. Fey name: Pink Crystal Mussel Fey Species. Jacini/Steel Armor Fey Grade. Bronze 4/10. Fey Type: Water/Spiritual Fey Quality. Elite Abilities: Frowny Face Iron Thorn Cross Shield. When applying a shield on a target, when the shield is attacked, it will shoot out a large number of iron thorns. When the iron thorns touch an ally target, it will release the bloodthirsty excitement effect. When touching an enemy target, it will cause the target to feel love and reduce their desire to fight. Foam Crystal Shield quickly spits out foam from the tightly closed shell. The foam can form a temporary shield on the surface of multiple targets that can barely resist damage, or form multiple temporary shields on the surface of a single target that will gradually decrease in defense. Unique Special Item Transformation: transform oneself into a type of artifact for the contestant to use. After seeing the pink crystal mussel's true data, Lin Yuan got excited. It could be said that Chu Si's name was engraved on this pink crystal mussel. As compared to the steel spike iron mussel, the pink crystal mussel's normal ability, Iron Thorn Cross Shield, had a certain change. When releasing the spikes to counterattack a local target, the steel spike iron mussel would deal a large-scale physical AoE damage to the enemy target. This ability was very useful in low-grade battles. But when it came to high-grade battles, the AoE damage from such a counterattack wouldn't be that great. Some Fays that were good at defense could easily withstand it. However, the pink crystal mussel's Iron Thorn Cross Shield turned the original AoE physical damage into an AoE charm ability, reducing the target's will to fight. As Lin Yuan's strength grew, he increasingly understood the importance of will to fight in a battle. The side with a high will to fight could often create miracles of defeating the strong. It wasn't just the Iron Thorn Cross Shield that made Lin Yuan feel that the pink crystal mussel was suitable for Chu Si. The pink crystal mussel's elite ability, Foam Crystal Shield, was simply tailor-made for Chu Si's combat system. Chu Si's Burning Sunflower Gemini and Obsidian Iron Wild Bull weren't defensive Fays in the traditional sense. Among Chu Si's Fays, Only the yellow scarlet golden butterfly could apply a defensive shield. Moreover, the yellow scarlet golden butterfly's shield was a single-target shield. The pink crystal muscle's foam crystal shield increased Chu-Si's overall shield ability. It allowed Chu-Si to no longer be good at single-target combat. Instead, she could play the role of a defense-type spirit chi professional in a team. The AoE ability, Foam Crystal Shield, combined with the yellow scarlet golden butterfly's exclusive skill, Explosive Shield Counterattack, was a very powerful killing tool. Not only could the Foam Crystal Shield be used on multiple targets, but it could also stack these temporary shields on a single person. Chapter 1291. If multiple layers of foam crystal shields could be stacked on a target, then when the exclusive skill Shield Explosion Counterattack was used, the shield would explode. Even though the foam crystal shield's defensive ability wasn't strong, and it weakened with each layer. However, when the damage that several layers of foam crystal shield could withstand was condensed together, it could still explode with great lethality. However, the Acne Crystal Muscle specialization gave him a headache. There were simply too many outstanding phases that had failed because of their exclusive skill, Tool Transformation. Therefore, Lin Yuan was prepared to ask Wang Su to see what this Acne Crystal Muscle could transform into. When Lin Yuan took out the pink thorn crystal muscle to observe, Wang Su saw Lin Yuan's interest in it. Before Lin Yuan could ask, Wang Su used his hand to knock on the pink thorn crystal muscle's shell and instructed it. Acne Crystal Muscle, begin tool transformation. This pink crystal muscle had been cultivated for a long time. It had been placed in the warehouse of the Stormy Wave Guard. Wang Su wasn't a creation master and didn't personally nurture the Acne Crystal Muscle. However, Wang Su was responsible for feeding the other steel-barbed muscles, including the pink crystal muscle. This allowed Wang Su to issue commands to the pink thorn crystal muscle, even though he was not its contractor. However, the Acne Crystal Muscle obviously didn't give Wang Su any face. The Acne Crystal Muscle opened and closed its shell twice in Lin Yuan's hand, emitting 2 popping sounds. Upon seeing this, Wang Su felt a little awkward. He didn't expect that the Acne Crystal Muscle wouldn't even wave its fingers in front of Lin Yuan. This was too shameful. Wang Su could easily kill the pink thorn crystal muscle. However, if the pink thorn crystal muscle was unwilling to undergo the tool transformation, Wang Su had no way to force it. Wang Su scratched the back of his head and said, "When this pink thorn crystal muscle was first bred, we experimented with its normal and elite skills," Lin Huang said. The normal level skill is slightly different from the other steel spike muscles. The elite grade skill is a group defense skill. It's considered a rare skill. On average, only 1 steel spike iron clams will appear after nurturing 3 to 5,000. It's just that this pink thorn crystal muscle's exclusive specialization is a bit too much, or I would have contracted this pink thorn crystal muscle a year ago. At this point, Wang Su's face revealed a helpless expression. Obviously, he was speechless at the appearance of the Acne crystal clam after it had transformed. Upon hearing Wang Su's regretful sigh, Lin Yuan's heart thumped. Could it be that the Acne crystal clam's tool transformation was really bad? If that was the case, then this Acne crystal muscle was very suitable for Chu-Si's combat style. However, he had to consider whether he should let her contract this Acne crystal muscle or not. If the tool transformation was useless, the Acne crystal muscle would have 1 less exclusive skill. This would greatly affect the overall value of the Acne crystal muscle. However, he still decided to see for himself what the Acne crystal muscle could transform into. Lin Yuan circulated the spiritual power in his body slightly, and an imperceptible stream of spirit chi flowed through his palm and into the Acne crystal muscle's shell. At that instant, Lin Yuan commanded the Acne crystal muscle. Acne crystal muscle, tool transformation. As Lin Yuan's voice fell, the pinkish-purple acne crystal muscle in his palm suddenly shone brightly. The width of the clamshell became narrower and longer. Finally, it formed a pinkish-purple flower sword that was over 80 centimeters long. Including the sword hilt, it was almost 1 meter long. The flower sword that the Acne crystal muscle transformed into was very attractive and looked even more magnificent than the original color of the acne crystal muscle. The pinkish-purple sword was in a semi-crystallized state. The semi-crystallized sword body glowed with the unique milky pearl light of the clamshell. The spikes on the clamshell had all turned into the sword body's carvings. The flower sword's hilt was bent backward, half surrounding the sword wielder's hand, and it could protect the wielder's palm very well. Lin Yuan wasn't the pink thorn crystal muscle's contractor, so he couldn't control the pink thorn crystal muscle's flower sword. However, according to Lin Yuan's knowledge, and the precedence of other fays transforming into swords, Lin Yuan could infer that when controlling the flower sword, he could use the foam crystal shield and iron thorn cross shield by swinging the sword. When the sword body touched the target, or used the sword body to block damage, the iron thorn cross shield's effect would be automatically triggered. He looked at the flower sword that the acne crystal clam had transformed into, and felt a little complicated. On the one hand, Wang Si's words had made Lin Yuan lose hope in the acne crystal muscle transformed weapon. Now that he looked at the flower sword, it could be said that it was undoubtedly the most suitable tool transformation for Chu Xi. Because of her interest, Chu Xi had practiced the flower sword for half a year. During the all-star match, Chu Xi had relied on the flower sword to counterattack by exploding the shield to defeat the Dragon Gate Guild Club's reserve member, Chen Hongfeng. On the other hand, Lin Yuan had wanted to find a defense-type fei for Chu Xi. However, the sword transformed from the acne crystal clam gave Chu Xi another reason to fight in close combat. It seemed that Chu Xi would become more and more reckless in the future battles. Therefore, Lin Yuan felt that his Iron Bucket Sister transformation plan, which he had just started, had a bad start. At that moment, Lin Yuan was secretly planning the Iron Bucket Sister transformation plan, which he had just started. Before the Iron Bucket Sister transformation plan, Lin Yuan was determined to change Chu Xi's reckless habits. Fortunately, the acne crystal muscle transformed into a flower sword, which made Chu Xi reckless, and also increased her overall appearance. When Chu Xi took out the acne crystal muscle's flower sword in the S tournament, or the Radiance 100 Sequences selection, it would definitely be able to wash away the title of Iron Ox Princess, which Lin Yuan had always found unacceptable. At that moment, Lin Yuan heard Wang Si's surprised voice. "Sai, this acne crystal muscle is very stubborn. If it doesn't agree, there's no point in discussing it. Why is this acne crystal muscle so obedient to you? If you want him to transform, he'll transform." Based on the mask on Lin Yuan's face, Wang Si confirmed his identity as the Sky City Lord as soon as they met. Wang Si had thought that Lin Yuan might be a creation master. But even if a creation master wanted an uncontracted fei to submit to him, he wouldn't be able to do so. He would also need to take out some spirit liquids to entice the fei and obtain its favorable impression. Lin Yuan had not taken anything out just now. He did not even make any extra movements. Why would the acne crystal muscle listen to Lin Yuan? Since he had decided to let Chu Xi contract the pink thorn crystal muscle, the first thing he had to do was to get it from Wang Si. Maybe this little fellow and I hit it off too well. I like it very much. I wonder if I can trade this little guy from your hands? Lin Yuan's words made Wang Si hesitate. ABC. Chapter 1293. Lin Yuan paused for a moment before continuing. I hope that no matter what happens in the next few days, the Stormy Wave Guards won't interfere with what's happening on the distant islands of the Sea of Bliss. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Wang Si suddenly became nervous. Firstly, Wang Si did not expect to have the opportunity to speak directly with Cicada Cry's disciple. Secondly, Lin Yuan had said that there would be a commotion that might affect Shocking Wave City in the next few days. The island of the Blissful Sea Clan was the furthest island from the Stormy Wave City. It was about 800 nautical miles away from here. At such a distance, just how big of an earthquake would it take to affect Stormy Wave City? At the same time, Wang Si was surprised that Sky City was able to communicate with the spirit guards and ask them for help. Even if the City Lord of Stormy Wave City personally went to the Spirit Sector branch of Stormy Wave City to ask for help, the guard envoy wouldn't give him any face. All the guard envoys were directly under the bureau chief. One had to know that some of the more senior guard envoys might not even listen to everything the left and right custodians say. One of the guard envoys in Stormwave City's Spirit Sector branch was such a veteran. It turned out that Sky Castle was not only related to Lord Cicada's disciple, Gao Feng, but also to the Spirit Guards. It seemed that the Sky Castle, which was currently in the center of public opinion, had two majesties standing behind it. It was hard not to fear such a force. Wang Se nodded and said, "I will arrange for the Spirit Guards and Spirit Guards to coordinate their defense. If Sky City makes too much noise on the distant islands and threatens the safety of Stormy Wave City," Yi Futian said, "Sky City will need to give Stormy Wave City an explanation after this." Lin Yuan replied in an abnormally solemn tone. "Letting the Spirit Guards know in advance is just in case. Not threatening the safety of the people in Stormy Wave City is my bottom line." In fact, Lin Yuan had asked Red Thorn to inform Bai Yen, so that he would have more strength to resist the sea species experts, competing with the experts around in He. On the other hand, it was also to ensure the safety of Stormy Wave City. After negotiating with Wang Su and handing over the resources of the Sea of Bliss, Lin Yuan was ready to leave the City Lord Mansion and meet up with Lu Jie's slaughtering Sky Butterfly. The mother of Bloodbath asked Lin Yuan, as soon as he stepped out of the room, "City Lord, now that everything has been settled, Qi Heng is no longer of any use. What are you going to do?" Lin Yuan followed the mother of Bloodbath's gaze and saw Qi Heng, who was motionless like a bamboo pole on the training ground. "Mother of Bloodbath, let Qi Heng return to the royal capital to deal with the aftermath of the Sea of Bliss. Tell Qi Heng to give him the 5 million radiance dollars after he is done with the Paradise Sea tribe." The mother of Bloodbath's figure flashed and appeared in front of Qi Heng. "There's nothing for you to do here. You can return to the capital now. I won't take back the red crystal spider on your shoulder. I will use it to keep an eye on you. Don't try to play any tricks when we go back to clean up the mess." After speaking, the mother of Bloodbath returned to Lin Yuan's side in a flash. Lin Yuan and the mother of Bloodbath left the City Lord Mansion under Wang Su's escort. Qi Heng, who was standing on the training ground, had an unusually ugly expression, but he could do nothing about the mother of Bloodbath's arrangements. He could only return to the royal capital with his tail between his legs. Qi Heng felt rather regretful that he could not see the conflict between Sky City and His Holiness Eternal Lamp's disciple, Anha. Qi Heng secretly thought, "It doesn't matter how strong your Sky City is. If you dare to have a conflict with His Holiness Eternal Lamp's disciple, if you don't die, who will?" Under the dusk of flowing clouds, the setting sun plated the flowing clouds with a faint blood-red color. At that moment, there were 7 faint beams of light shining between the clouds. Tracing the source of the light, the 7 faint beams of light came from an unusually luxurious fey carriage. This fey carriage looked like a temple. There were a variety of fey carriages, and although the shape of a temple was rare, it was not non-existent. However, what was rather strange was that the carriage was actually being pulled by 7 lanterns that emitted beams of light at the front of the carriage. If one looked closely at the lanterns, they would find that each lantern had 1,000 fireflies. It was obvious that each of the 7 lamps contained thousands of fays similar to fireflies. A fey carriage pulled by lanterns was galloping in the sky. Inside the carriage, a youth with medium-long hair was playing with a rainbow ball of light. The young man's eyes were as sharp as a falcon's, but the teardrop mole under his right eye made his sharp eyes look much gentler. There were 2 middle-aged men sitting beside the young man. Apart from the 2 middle-aged men, there was also an old man standing behind the young man. The old man's eyes were half closed, but his aura was firmly enveloped around the young man. Although the old man wasn't sitting in the fey carriage like the 2 middle-aged men, the 2 middle-aged men were abnormally respectful to the old man. One of the middle-aged men smiled as he looked at the young man who was playing with the 7-colored ball of light. "Little Pavilion Master, His Eminence Bamboo Monarch's disciple, Gu Lang, did not even last 10 minutes against you. In the Radiance Envoy selection 2 years later, the Little Pavilion Master will definitely be able to fight for the top 3 spots." Before the middle-aged man could finish speaking, The young man who was playing with the seven-colored ball of light glared at the middle-aged man. The young man flipped his hand and kept the colorful light ball into the lantern-shaped bracelet on his wrist, as he said in an unfriendly tone, "Uncle Chung, I've told you many times not to call me Little Pavilion Master. Senior brother is the best candidate for young Pavilion Master. Calling me Little Pavilion Master is equivalent to being disrespectful to senior brother." This time, Gu Lang didn't use his full strength. He only used the Great Old Day Squid, his main Fey. He didn't even use his Desolate Bloodline Fey or Sacred Source Life form. Gu Lang's Desolate Bloodline Fey is slightly stronger than Gu Lang's main Fey, the Great Old Day Squid. Gu Lang's true strength lies in the explosive power displayed by his Sacred Source Life form when he activates his Desolate Bloodline Fey. He didn't even use his true strength, so there's nothing to be happy about even if I win. When the middle-aged man called Uncle Chung heard the young man's words, he smiled embarrassedly and felt a little helpless. Why can't I remember to address and he as young master he? And he had corrected him at least 20 to 30 times for calling him Little Pavilion Master. With this kind of memory, it was no wonder that and he didn't like me. Why can't I have a better memory? Can someone teach me how to think before I speak? The other middle-aged man looked at the scenery outside the Fey carriage and looked at the time before speaking to an he. Young master he, there are still a few hours before we reach Stormy Wave City. 166 Reading Network. Chapter 1294. However, young master he, this large-scale whale fall is in the territory of Stormy Wave City. Should we inform the city lord of Stormy Wave City, Lungxing? Upon hearing this, and he picked up a spirit fruit on the table in front of him and took a bite before replying, "Uncle Jiang, didn't you say that the whale landed under the island of the Blissful Sea Tribe? Since that island has been bought by the Blissful Sea Tribe, it has nothing to do with the Stormy Wave City. We don't need to greet Stormy Wave City Lord Lungxing. Uncle Chung, Uncle Jiang, the 5 Emperors mercenary team that you have established should still have a lot of people stationed on the distant islands of the Blissful Sea Clan, right? Go and contact them. If the people of the Blissful Sea Tribe are on the island, I will make a deal with them first. If the people of the Sea of Bliss aren't on the island, we can save ourselves the trouble. We can just go and deal with this huge whale fall directly. Anyway, the Blissful Sea Clan's Chi Clan doesn't have the ability to fight against the Sea Clan's experts. Since they've already reached an agreement with the Oceanic Race's powerhouses, they said that they wouldn't have any designs on this huge whale fall. Then what does it have to do with the Blissful Sea Clan if we plan to attack this huge whale fall?" Hearing in his words, Zhang Chung and Sun Jiang felt a little pain in their balls. What logic was young master he using? Although it was true, when the Blissful Sea Tribe bought this island from the Stormy Wave City, the Blissful Sea Tribe's territory had already been destroyed. It had already been notarized by the City Lord's mansion and the spirit guards of Stormy Wave City. In the end, if this large-scale whale fall really caused a ruckus, it was highly likely that the news would reach the ears of Her Holiness Cicada Cry and Her Holiness Night-Leaning Moon. His Holiness Cicada Cry and His Holiness Eternal Lantern had a good relationship. If His Holiness Cicada Cry knew about it, he might turn a blind eye to it for the sake of Lord Changdeng. However, the relationship between Her Highness Night-Leaning Moon and Lord Longlamp had always been like fire and water, and they had never given each other face in the Imperial Court Conference. If Her Majesty Night-Leaning Moon knew about this, she would definitely not let this matter rest. However, both Zhang Chung and Sun Jiang knew in his temper very well, and he would definitely not be able to listen to them at this time. Therefore, the two decided to persuade and he in another direction. Otherwise, if things really got out of hand, when His Holiness the Eternal Lamp returned to the Bright Lamp Tower from the Outer Realm, His Holiness the Eternal Lamp Tower wouldn't be able to escape. Lord Changdeng doted on an he and wouldn't say anything to an he, but the two of them were different. The two of them would not be able to escape Lord Changdeng's punishment. Sun Jiang rolled his eyes and said, "The two of us only heard the report of this whale fall from our subordinates. Our subordinates don't have the ability to detect the scale of this whale fall. If this large whale fall is not only the sad song of the giant whale, but also the burial of old island whales at the bottom of the sea, then there must be at least one sea king among the merfolk experts who came to protect us. The ocean kings all have undying strength. When fighting in the ocean king's strength will increase exponentially due to the environment. Young master, he wants to use this whale fall to refine the sacred source life form. It will definitely affect the formation of the island whale embryo. I'm afraid that when the time comes, the Sea King powerhouses guarding this large-scale whale fall will go crazy, and the tsunami triggered by the power of the four seas will threaten the distant stormy wave city. And he still didn't care at all. He threw the fruit that was left with only the core into the trash can. Let's not talk about whether or not there are island whales buried at the bottom of the sea. Even if there are sea kings, there's nothing to worry about. Grandpa Gu will take care of it. With Grandpa Gu around, even the Sea King powerhouses won't be able to cause a tsunami. Unless an expert at the peak of a mortal realm comes, I'm going to take this whale fall. The most I can do with this whale fall to refine the sacred source life form is to prevent the newly formed island whale embryos from hatching. The ocean species experts have always cared about whether the island whales can hatch or not whether the island whales will be controlled by humans. As long as I promise the ocean species expert guarding the whale fall will hatch the island whale embryos, the ocean species experts won't reject me. As soon as he finished speaking, the old man behind he opened his eyes and said, "Young master, when we reach the island, I will find the strongest ocean species expert guarding the whale fall and negotiate with him. Young master, when we get to the island, this old man will find the strongest sea race powerhouse who guarded this large-scale whale fall, and negotiate with him. Young master, when we reach the island, I will find the strongest ocean species expert guarding the whale fall and negotiate with him. If you can upgrade the sacred source life form to 4 stars, and obtain the second function before Lord Eternal Lamp returns, I'm sure Lord Eternal Lamp will be very happy." Hearing he and the Taoist protector arranged by His Holiness behind he said so, Zhang Cheng and Sun Jiang knew that it was useless to persuade them. The Blissful Ocean Tribe had defeated the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden in the Blood Oath Extreme Battle. The Blissful Ocean Tribe had won because of Sky City. Sky City wouldn't help the Blissful Ocean Tribe for no reason. The Blissful Ocean Tribe must have given Sky City a lot of benefits. Would the Blissful Sea Tribe tell Sky City about this massive whale fall? If they told them, Sky City would definitely fight for the whale fall, which was an irresistible temptation. Zhang Cheng and Sun Jiang had personally witnessed the Blood Oath Extreme Battle between Sky City and the Zheng family. Both of them believed that Sky City had at least a high-level emperor-level expert. When Miao Zhinshan arrived, he didn't attack immediately after investigating. This meant that the expert from Sky City was either very good at hiding, or he was at least one level stronger than Miao Zhinshan. Sky City, this mysterious faction, seemed to have appeared out of thin air. Not only did it have a huge amount of creation master resources, but it was also enough for Sky City to customize a bronze/epic fae every day. At the same time, Sky City had enough combat power to become a top faction. Since Sky City was so well hidden, it wasn't impossible for there to be an immortal expert overseeing it. If Sky City had an immortal expert and came to compete in secret, then it was likely to cause some trouble for he. Zhang Qing pondered for a moment and finally decided to mention this matter to he. "Young master, have you heard of Sky City?" Hearing this, he threw the grapes into his mouth impatiently, shaking his head as he did so. His action of shaking his head made Zhang Qing extremely embarrassed. He didn't know about Sky City, so Zhang Qing didn't know where to start talking about this matter to he. Hearing Zhang Qing mention Sky City, the old man behind he had a serious expression. He said to he in a cautious tone, "Speaking of Sky City, I just discussed it with Lord Eternal Lamp some time ago. If Zhang Qing didn't mention it, I wouldn't have thought about it. Young master, you have to be prepared. Sky City is likely to cause trouble during this whale fall." He helplessly spat out the grape seeds that he hadn't spat out for a long time. "Grandpa Gu, it's not like you don't know that I don't like Star Web. After I reached 80 stars on the Star Tower Celestial Stairway, and entered the Hall of Fame. I haven't logged into StarWeb. What exactly is Sky City? Who can tell me about it? 166 Reading Network. Chapter 1295. The old man knew that and he would ask this. Among the young talents of the younger generation, and he was definitely the most extreme old-school otaku. He didn't go on the StarWeb, didn't browse the forum, and didn't even use his phone. He could stay in the Bright Lantern Tower for 2 years and never went out. It wasn't until Lord Long Lantern did some ideological work in the first half of the year that he went out to explore. He was no longer embarrassed in the Bright Lantern Tower, like an abandoned otaku. Not to mention Sky City, which was a rising force in the past year. Even the names of the disciples of the Moon Empress, Chief Guard Yi, and Lord Cicada Cry. And he couldn't even remember them, after Lord Long Lantern told him once last time. Originally, Lord Long Lantern wanted to take he to participate in the Nyx assembly a few months ago. And his age was just right to participate in the civil and military duels. But who would have thought that he, who returned to the Bright Lantern Tower after a few months of training, was unwilling to move and didn't participate in the Nyx assembly. He stood up Lord Long Lantern Tower. It was for this reason that Lord Long Lantern, who had always doted on he, decided to discipline he. After the education, he, who had just returned to the Long Lantern Tower after a few months of training, was kicked out again. Originally, the old man wanted to teach he about Sky City personally. As it turned out, Zhang Cheng and Sun Jiang had already started explaining to he one after another. While listening, he nodded gently, and he didn't put on airs as a disciple of Her Holiness, and say that Sky City wasn't worthy of competing with him for this large whale fall. Instead he said calmly, if Sky City really intends to compete with me for this large whale fall, then it will depend on each other's capabilities. If Sky City isn't capable, then they will have to pay the price for thinking about the large whale fall, and then be driven away by me. If Sky City has the ability to snatch the large whale fall from my hands, then just take it away. I can't blame others for being too strong even if I don't have the ability. After saying that, perhaps because he ate too much fruit just now, and he yawned, and he made a silent gesture to Zhang Cheng and Sun Jiang, and then said to the old man behind him, Grandpa Gu, I'm too sleepy and want to sleep for a while. Wake me up when we get to the island. After saying that, he closed his eyes, leaving the old man behind him curling his lips. The old man looked at Zhang Cheng and Sun Jiang, who were sitting quietly in their seats, and sighed. The old man had seen his bad temper when he woke up, and his biggest hobby was sleeping. Whoever woke he up from his sleep would be glared at by he until the next time he went to sleep. At the thought of this, the old man pointed at Zhang Cheng. After Zhang Cheng looked at him, the old man pointed at he, who was resting with his eyes closed. Zhang Cheng immediately understood what the old man meant. He nodded happily. Young master, he had some complaints about him, because he didn't think before he spoke. He would be able to perform well when he woke young master he up later. At this time, Zhang Cheng was already pressing his throat with his hands, silently practicing how to pronounce the words wake up better. Zhang Cheng, who was happily practicing his voice, did not notice the apologetic look in the old man's eyes. Lin Yuan was staying in the guest house that Lu Jie and the Slaughter Butterfly had rented in Raging Wave City. 2 days had passed since Lin Yuan had first arrived in Indigo Azure City. 2 days ago, when Lin Yuan met up with the Slaughter Sky Butterfly and Lu Jie ordered the Insect Queen to produce 20 hurricane owlet moths, then sent them to the distant island of the Blissful Sea Tribe, 800 nautical miles away. The black wind owlet moth was very good at controlling the power of the wind. Under the wild sea breeze, the black wind owlet moth flew even faster. In addition, the nightmare owlet moths were only the size of a fist, so these 20 nightmare owlet moths could easily hide on the island and scout the situation. Through Lu Jie's investigation, Lin Yuan grasped the distribution of people on the island. Other than the 2,000 people that the Blissful Ocean Tribe had arranged to nurture the blissful angelfish on the island, there were only 4 king-level experts and 1 emperor-level expert under the 5 emperor mercenaries. In the meantime, The Emperor Realm expert had discovered several of Lu Jie's hurricane owlet moths. That Emperor-class expert from the Five Sovereigns mercenary team immediately attacked and killed Lu Jie's hurricane owlet moth. The Blissful Sea Tribe had hired the Five Emperors mercenary team to protect the island. The Blissful Ocean clan was in conflict with the Meow family in the Beast Creation Garden. The Blissful Ocean clan must have told the Five Emperors about it. If they wanted to protect the island from the Meow family's Beast Creation Gardens people, just relying on Emperor-level experts was not enough. Lin Yuan guessed that the Five Emperors mercenaries Emperor-class powerhouse, who was supposed to be stationed on the island, was not present. It was likely that he had sent a message to His Majesty Lamp's side. It seemed that it was inevitable for him to collide with the people of His Holiness the Eternal Lamp. Suddenly, the princess' voice echoed in Lin Yuan's mind. "Master, I've finished absorbing the vast sea world crystal." Lin Yuan's eyes lit up when he heard the princess' words. He had been looking forward to this moment for the past 2 days. Lin Yuan returned to the Spirit Lock spatial zone and summoned the princess. He found that after absorbing the vast sea world crystals, the princess had changed a lot again. But this time, the change didn't happen at the hem of Luo-kun's skirt. Instead, it happened on Luo-kun's left shoulder, and the princess' overall temperament. Ever since the Dark Death Law transformed into the Dark Death world, it was pulled out of the princess' skirt. It became a bat-shaped embroidery on the princess' left shoulder. After the princess absorbed the vast sea world crystal, the changes on the princess' left shoulder could be seen. Lin Yuan knew that the princess had perfectly mastered the vast sea world during the process of absorbing the vast sea world crystal. The additional giant whale embroidery on the princess' left shoulder could prove this very well. In fact, compared to the change on Luo-kun's left shoulder, the change in the princess' temperament was more obvious. The princess seemed to be much more mature than before. Of course, this maturity did not refer to the maturity of her appearance. If the princess previously gave people the feeling that she was a princess in the royal family, who was well protected by the old king, at this time, the old king had already told this princess, who was well protected by him, that she would inherit the throne in the future and become the queen. Now, the princess' temperament was full of a kind of proud nobility, and there was a hint of disdain in her eyes. Presumably, after absorbing a world source crystal and a world crystal, the princess star class should have increased from 2-star to 3-star. Lin Yuan thought. If the princess star class continued to increase, would the princess temperament become more and more like a queen? Just as Lin Yuan was observing the princess, he heard the princess speak. "Master, I'll give you these 2 things." After saying that, the princess handed 2 pale golden crystals to Lin Yuan. ABC. Chapter 1296. Lin Yuan was rather unfamiliar with the items that princess had handed over. However, he knew that these 2 pale gold crystals were truly good stuff. They were world crystals that could allow phase above the 5 tribulations of creation to absorb and achieve a breakthrough in quality. Lin Yuan watched as princess handed him the 2 world crystals and eagerly waited to be fed. Lin Yuan could not help but laugh as he handed the world crystal of the prismatic tortoise to princess. "Princess, you'll absorb this world crystal of the prismatic tortoise's body next. After absorbing this world crystal, I'll let you absorb the world crystal of the roaring sun world. After you're done absorbing the world crystal of the shadow binding world, you can absorb the world crystal of the holy healing white deer." Princess did not raise any objections and happily took the world crystal of the holy healing white deer. Princess was not picky when it came to good stuff like the world crystal. No matter which one she ate first, she would eat all the world crystals in the end. Lin Yuan was really good to her. Lin Yuan had already used Morbius True Data to check on princess attributes. Sacred source name. Sacred sword wielding princess. Sacred source species. Source species / sacred source species. Sacred source star. 3 stars. Sacred source type. Main water / miscellaneous support functions. Frowny face princess form. 1 princess skirt. Can extract the willpower rune of a dead fae or source type item. It can also inscribe the willpower of the dead fantasy breed phase willpower rune, or the myth breathe law crystal's laws onto princess skirt. At the same time, the law crystal that has its laws extracted will become a law crystal containing pure power of law. Sacred sword form. 1 sacred sword's blade. The blade pierces the skirt and consumes the body's spirit chi to strike out the same type of law and willpower stored in the skirt. Sword skill. Dark Death World Dark Crow Withering Strike. Inject all the power in the Dark Death World into the sacred sword. The sacred sword's blade will split into 28 night crows with the power of dark death. The contractor will swing the sacred sword to strike out 28 night crows, for 28 attacks. If the 28 attacks form a combo, each combo will trigger an additional layer of withering effect. Every 14 stacks of withering would cause a withering attack on the target. 28 perfect combos would cause 56 withering effects to cause the target to enter a true withering state. Sword skill. Vast Water World Whale Sea Leap Wave Strike. Inject all the power of the vast water world into the Holy Sword. The Holy Sword gains the power to control water. Depending on the current environment and the size of the water body, the sword skill will be weakened or strengthened. The contestant can summon a huge whale in the water body when waving the Holy Sword. The whale will jump out of the water and launch a fierce attack. During the attack, the owner of the Holy Sword can decide to summon the state of the whale, allowing the whale and the huge wave raised by the whale to freely switch between water and ice. With one look, Lin Yuan discovered that Princess had indeed become a 3-star sacred source life form, just as he had expected. At the same time, after absorbing the vast water world crystal, the queen who had mastered the vast water world changed from the sacred source elements to the main dark element and the supplementary element. It became a main water element and a mix of auxiliary elements. That's right. Princess's sacred source system had focused on the dark element because the dark element world within her body had the most laws and wills. However, there were 2 creation earth veins in the vast water world crystal. There was one more creation earth vein than the dark death world. There was still a myth 3 dead dream law in Princess's robe. However, even if the myth 3 dead dream law and the dark death world with 1 creation earth vein were added together, they could not compare to the vast water world with 2 creation earth veins. Compared to Princess's sacred source system, what attracted Lin Yuan's attention the most was the new sword skill that Princess had obtained in her sacred sword mode, the Whale Sea Leaping Wave Strike. After carefully reading the introduction of the Whale Sea Leaping Wave Strike, Lin Yuan found that it was a sword skill that had extremely high requirements for the environment. In situations where there were no water bodies or small water bodies, using the Whale Sea Leaping Wave Strike would greatly reduce the damage of the Whale Sea Leaping Wave Strike. This was because the Whale Sea Leaping Wave Strike's strength was directly related to the size of the water body. But what if the Whale Sea Leaping Wave Strike was used on the sea? It had to be known that the sea regions were connected. As long as there were no especially large continents or islands in the sea region, it meant that the sea region could be extended infinitely. If the Whale Sea Leaping Wave Strike was used on the sea, the sword skill's lethality would be raised to a terrifying value that was difficult to estimate. When the Whale Sea Leaping Wave Strike was used, it would summon a giant whale in the water body. Moreover, the sacred sword could allow the giant whale and the giant waves it raised to freely switch between water and ice. Lin Yuan felt that apart from being used for attack, the Whale Sea Leaping Wave Strike could also be used as a control and defensive sword skill. When the giant wave raised by the giant whale attacked the target, it could turn the giant wave raised by the giant whale into ice. It could trap the target wrapped in the wave and ice. When facing a powerful attack, it could even turn the entire giant whale into ice and be used as a shield to block the attack. Although the Whale Sea Leaping Wave Strike had extremely high requirements for the environment, it was superior in that it combined offense, defense, and defense. Overall, Lin Yuan was rather satisfied with the new Whale Sea Leaping Wave Strike. As he looked at Princess, who had already started to absorb the world crystal simulation, Lin Yuan could not help but twitch the corners of his mouth. Only God knew how much resources and effort he had invested to nurture Princess. But even though he had invested so much, The princess's current star level had only reached 3 stars. It hasn't passed the infancy stage yet. He really didn't know how long it would take for the princess to advance to a 4-star, from the infancy stage to the growth stage. This allowed her to obtain new abilities in both her princess and holy sword state. Suddenly, he thought of the 3 world crystals in his hands, and the tens of thousands of law origin crystals that the princess had yet to absorb. Lin Yuan immediately regained his confidence. Anyway, with his current resources and ability to obtain resources, it was only a matter of time before he could raise the princess's star to 4 stars. Lin Yuan, who had just left the spirit lock spatial zone, had yet to drink a mouthful of water when he heard a knock on the door. Lin Yuan hurriedly opened the door and saw Lu Jie standing there with an abnormally grim expression. Upon seeing Lin Yuan, Lu Jie hurriedly spoke. Lin Yuan, according to the hurricane owlet moth's detection, a fey carriage is heading toward the island. Looking at the shape of this fey carriage, it must be Anha, who Qi Heng mentioned before. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan replied immediately, Big brother Lu, let's go call the slaughtering butterfly and the mother of bloodbath first. Since the person competing with us for the large whale fall is here, it's time for us to set off. ABC. Chapter 1297. And he was yawning and stepping out of the fey carriage with an unhappy expression. Anha, who had just stepped out of the fey carriage, glanced at the glaring sun over the island, and his sleepy eyes suddenly became sharp. With a wave of his hand, a lavender worm was summoned by Anha, and he looked at the 2 moths that flashed over the island and said, Earth-overturning hibernating insect, find everything that shouldn't be on this island. Upon hearing Anhi's command, the light purple worm wriggled from his palm and landed on the ground. Upon hearing Anhi's command, the light purple worm wriggled from his palm and landed on the ground. Then, the entire island began to tremble. Dozens of meandering stone pillars emerged from the ground, and the front of these stone pillars had mouthparts that looked like the light purple worm. The meandering stone pillars found and killed a total of 27 hurricane owlet moths in less than a moment. Then the stone pillars' mouthparts picked up the black winged owlet moths' corpses and transported them to Anhi's feet. Lu Jie, who had followed Lin Yuan to call the mother of bloodbath and the slaughter sky butterfly, clearly saw this scene on the island. Lu Jie's eyes narrowed slightly, and a strong fighting spirit ignited in his heart. When Lu Jie had created the black winged owlet moths, he had not intended for them to fight at all. The black winged owlet moths, which had been entrusted with the mission of scouting, had condensed all their energy on their wings, causing these black winged owlet moths' wings to be 1 size larger than the ones that Lu Jie usually created. These hurricane owlet moths had no attack power or defense at all. In addition, Lu Jie was commanding the hurricane owlet moths from 800 nautical miles away, so the effect was very limited. It could be said that 800 nautical miles was the limit of Lu Jie's scouting range with the hurricane owlet moths. Based on the speed of the wriggling stone pillar, the purple worm's strength was at least at the Diamond X/Fantasy V level. The situation on the island was completely out of Lu Jie's perception. Lu Jie immediately told him about the last scene he had detected. As early as a day ago, Red Thorn had controlled Lu Yinshan to find Bai Yen. Bai Yen was on standby at the Klein hub in the swamp world. When Lin Yuan needed Bai Yen, he only needed to let Purple Firmament inform Bai Yen to summon him immediately. Since it was confirmed that it was His Holiness Eternal Lantern's disciple, and he boarded the distant island. A fierce battle was inevitable. However, he wasn't in a hurry to head to the island. A large whale fall would be guarded by the sea race powerhouses. Since he was the first to arrive, he was bound to clash with the sea race powerhouses. The oceanic species experts and he were both touchstones. They could help Lin Yuan test how strong the oceanic species experts guarding this large-scale whale fall were. It could also help Lin Yuan test the strength of the expert behind he. After detecting both sides' trump cards, Lin Yuan could deal with them with ease. While everyone was riding the slaughter sky butterfly to the island, Lu Jie said softly to Lin Yuan, Lin Yuan, I might not be able to help much in the battle later, but I can help clean up the sea environment. 2 days ago, Lu Jie had an in-depth conversation with Lin Yuan about this large-scale whale fall. Lu Jie's original intention was to use these 2 days to summon the left minister, Zhuoming. He had Zhuoming hide in the dark to deal with unpredictable dangers. In the end, Lin Yuan was already prepared, so Lu Jie gave up on the idea of calling the left palm official Zhuoming. That's right, the left minister Zhuoming was Night Leaning Moon's right hand. On a certain level, it could represent Night Leaning Moon's will. As soon as Zhuoming appeared, the experts under the lamp would definitely be able to see through his identity. Zhuoming's appearance would change the nature of the fight for resources. It would turn into an open battle between the two forces. If His Majesty's forces clashed with each other, it would likely lead to a series of butterfly effects. This was not a good thing. However, even if Lin Yuan was prepared in advance, Lu Jie still wanted to do something within his power as Lin Yuan's retainer knight. Upon hearing Lu Jie's words, Lin Yuan's eyes lit up, and he hurriedly replied, "That's right. Brother Lu, it's great that you can clean up the sea. If I can try to drive the weak aquatic phase in the sea far away, and get them away from the range of the large whale fall." Lin Yuan was really afraid that if he executed the whale sea leaping wave strike, those weak life forms would be instantly torn into pieces by the energy erupting from the sea. Upon hearing this, Lu Jie raised his hand and snapped his fingers. The dimensional light moth with the insect queen in its belly immediately appeared beside Lu Jie. Lu Jie circulated his spiritual power, and the spiritual power in his body surged violently. The insect queen produced a large number of hurricane owlet moths in the dimensional light moth's belly. Lu Jie then asked the insect queen to summon 2 insect-type carcinoma phase that Lu Jie had never used before. One of the insect-type carcinoma phase was like a small light bulb, and its insect limbs were soft and slender. The large insect belly was filled with a milky white turbid liquid. The other insect-type carcinoma phase was like a grayish-brown rock, and was very inconspicuous. However, this insect-type carcinoma phase had 2 giant chelicerae at its front, and a pair of thick insect tails at its back. The chelicerae and insect tails had sharp mouthparts, and it looked like a glutton. After Lu Jie summoned these 2 insect-type carcinoma phase, he took out a few protein silkworm chrysalises and tossed them at them. Subsequently, these 2 insect-type carcinoma phase rapidly produced a large number of insect eggs in front of Lin Yuan. The dimensional light moth released all the hurricane owlet moths that the insect queen had produced. The dimensional light moth was like an aircraft carrier, and the hurricane owlet moths that Lu Jie had sent out were all transport planes. They were assigned by Lu Jie to transport the eggs produced by the 2 insect-type carcinoma phase. Afterward, the 2 insect-type carcinoma phase eggs were scattered into the sea, and the efficiency was maximized. The instant Lin Yuan saw these 2 insect-type carcinoma phase, he didn't even use true data to recognize them. Lin Yuan didn't expect Lu Jie to actually control these 2 terrifying existences. The milky white light bulb insect-type carcinoma phase was called the floating hatworm, and it was a life form that had an extremely strong control over water bodies. The floating hatworm's eggs would be scattered into the sea by the hurricane owlet moths. These eggs would quickly hatch on the surface of the sea and turn into small floating hatworms. The small floating hatworms would absorb the environment's energy and rapidly proliferate. When several small floating hatworms were placed side by side after proliferating, they would form an assembly that was close to 100 square meters in the sea. It looked like a dense jellyfish colony. However, as an insect-type carcinoma phase, the floating hatworm wasn't as simple as a jellyfish. When the floating hatworm was in the water, its soft and slender insect limbs would constantly extend and become very tough. App, not bad at all. It's worth installing. It actually supports both Android and Apple phones. As long as there was water, these tough insect limbs would rapidly expand and grow. 166 Reading Network. Chapter 1298. At the same time, these tough insect limbs would secrete a jelly-like substance that was extremely difficult to break free from. This jelly-like substance was like a fishnet without any holes, and it was enough to catch all the creatures in the sea in one go. With the dark floating hatworm around, As long as those colonies floated on the sea surface with the sea breeze, all the creatures in the sea that were weaker than the dark floating hat worm would be stuck by the mucus secreted by the tentacles. The sea would be cleared in an instant. The mucus secreted by the dark floating hat worm was actually its food warehouse. In order to ensure the freshness of the food, the mucus would provide enough nutrients to maintain the basic life of the creatures caught in the net. Using this method, Lu Jie could bring away all the creatures in the sea that were weaker than the dark floating hat worm. After this storm was over, Lu Jie only needed to control the dark floating hat worm's queen to activate the destruction mechanism of the eggs. The dark floating hat worm colonies that were produced in the sea would rapidly degrade into nutrients, and the mucus secreted would also lose its stickiness. Perhaps these aquatic fays that were brought to a safe place by the dark floating hat worm could obtain a chance encounter. The other tumor fay that looked like a brown rock was called the reef lice. The density of the reef lice's eggs was very high, so their eggs would hatch about 50 meters below the water's surface. After the eggs hatched, the small reef lice would rapidly change the pressure in its body and sink to the bottom of the sea. When the reef lice reached the bottom of the sea, it would rapidly eat the rocks at the bottom of the sea. At the same time, it would secrete an extremely hard calcified substance. When these calcified substances were piled up, they would form all kinds of steep and majestic stone peaks in the water. The reef lice had once appeared in the distant sea area of Wind Mist City. It was rumored that the reef lice had been taken in by the spirit guards. At that time, the reef lice had almost curbed Wind Mist City's economic development. The substance secreted by the reef lice had once formed stone peaks that were level with the sea surface, and even protruded out of the sea surface. It had almost turned Wind Mist City from a coastal city into an inland city. The reef lice was good at reclaiming land from the sea, but the stone peaks that the reef lice secreted were definitely not something that Wind Mist City wanted to see. Wind Mist City's economy had originally ranked in the top 20 among the 36 major cities. Due to the reef lice's rampage, Wind Mist City's economy had suddenly fallen to the bottom within a year. As a result, the Gao family's ranking among the top forces plummeted. After 5 to 6 years of development, Wind Mist City's economy started to recover slowly. It was no longer a bottom-feeder existence by relying on the resources of the sea region. However, after that incident, Wind Mist City never made it into the top 20 of the big cities. It would not be an exaggeration to say that they were the nightmare of Wind Mist City. Perhaps the reef-striking lice that the insect queen was controlling was the one that had appeared in the distant sea of Wind Mist City. Lu Jie had absolute control over the queen louse. Since the mother louse could make its larvae secrete calcium, it could also make its larvae eat the calcium. Therefore, Lu Jie's current actions would not have any impact on Stormy Wave City's distant sea resources. At the same time, the reef lice's stone peak could maximize the safety of the underwater phase. The floating hat worm and the reef-hitting lice blocked the sea from the surface to the bottom of the sea, while the reef-hitting lice blocked the bottom of the sea. If these two insect-type carcinoma phase were to wreak havoc together, no coastal city would be able to resist them. Back then, the reef-striking lice that had wreaked havoc outside Wind Mist City was only at silver, while the insect queen's reef-striking lice was already at Diamond X. The reef-striking lice outside Wind Mist City could not be compared to the current one in terms of prowess. As he watched Lu Jie commanding the insect swarm, Lin Yuan felt that Lu Jie was becoming more and more like a natural disaster. However, Lu Jie's current actions also proved that everything had two sides. The insect-type carcinoma phase that had always been a disaster in the sea region, the nether floating hat worm, and the reef lice were doing their best to protect the stability of the sea region. Perhaps, Night Leaning Moon's original intention of letting Lu Jie contract the carcinoma phase was to let Lu Jie use his calamity body to defend the sea region and do good deeds. On the other side, Anha was fiddling with the hurricane owlet moth's corpse with great interest. Zhangcheng Sunjiang and the elder had also alighted from the carriage. Zhangcheng had a dumbfounded expression. He had trained his vocal cords for over an hour, and his voice was already in its most gentle state. But why was it that after waking in he up, and he glared at him to the point that he began to doubt his life. When the elder saw Zhang Cheng's dumbfounded expression, he silently expressed his apology. He then bent over to pick up a hurricane owlet moth and looked at it before asking Sun Jiang, who was beside him, "Is there a creation master among the 5 Thearch's mercenaries stationed on the island? Ask him to come over and see what exactly this insect type Fei is." Hearing this, Sun Jiang revealed an awkward expression. "Our 5 Thearch's mercenaries only have a total of 2 Class 4 creation masters, and they have been left at the headquarters. A Class 4 creation master was a precious treasure to the 5 Thearch's mercenary alliance." The 5 Thearch's mercenaries had not been established for a long time, and they were able to have a good ranking among the top factions because of their martial strength. This was also the main reason why the 5 Thearch's mercenaries had chosen to have a good relationship with the coiling Dragon Valley. All of a sudden, Sun Jiang's eyes flickered. Since this was the place where the Sea of Bliss nurtured Feis, there must be a creation master stationed here. Zhang Jiang was prepared to look for one. Before Zhang Jiang could look for one, Anha raised his hand and stopped him. Anha wasn't a creation master and couldn't see the hurricane owlet moths on the ground. However, and he was not very interested in what exactly these 20 moths were. In short, these 27 moths shouldn't have appeared on the island. For them to appear on the island, it was most likely that someone had been monitoring the island before they had arrived. Since someone wanted to monitor the island, there must be a purpose. Since they were here, if the person monitoring the island was also a large whale fall, he would have to show up to meet them. Anha lowered his head and ordered the light purple hinterland hibernating worm at his feet. Hinterland hibernating worm, start to absorb the energy in this island's soil and carry out the cocoon transformation. Under Anha's command, the hinterland hibernating worm's body suddenly stiffened. Subsequently, the hinterland hibernating worm was like a violently beating heart, causing the entire island to echo with rhythmic thumping sounds. Immediately after, the hinterland hibernating worm frantically danced its body and spat out light purple liquid. Once the light purple liquid was spat out, it immediately turned into a large clump of sticky worm silk. Logically speaking, a 3 to 5 centimeters hinterland hibernating worm's cocoon would only be the size of a fist. However, this hinterland hibernating worm's light purple cocoon was even bigger than the breeding room that the Sea of Bliss had built on the distant island. The 20-meter wide and 25-meter tall cocoon made Anha, who was below the cocoon, look rather small. Chapter 1299. After the giant cocoon was formed, the heartbeat in the center of the cocoon sounded again. This time, along with the heartbeat, the land near the cocoon began to tremble rhythmically. It was hard to imagine what kind of creature would hatch out of the cocoon. Looking at the cocoon in front of him, and he attached his hand to the cocoon and gently stroked it twice. Then, he said to the old man behind him, "Grandpa Gu, there's no time to lose. Grandpa Gu, there's no time to lose. Help me call out the strongest sea race powerhouse who's guarding this whale fall." Just as the old man behind and he was about to nod, his eyes suddenly narrowed, and he looked toward the distant sea. At that moment, a huge whirlpool had suddenly appeared in the sea. As the whirlpool rotated, the color of the entire sea changed from a bright light blue to a gloomy dark blue. A clear and gentle voice came from the center of the whirlpool. This clear and gentle voice was filled with extreme rage. As expected, the humans are plotting for this massive whale fall. Do you humans really think that the sea creatures are easy to bully? After the gentle voice that was full of anger echoed, the entire dark blue sea was set off with fine waves. These fine waves piled up layer by layer and swept a large amount of seawater onto the island. The huge waves engulfed half of the island, and even the fishery built by the Blissful Sea clan was smashed into pieces by the huge waves. A large number of angelfish of Blissful took this opportunity to escape into the sea. The old man behind and he shouted in a solemn tone, "Deep sea color. I didn't expect the sea near my Radiance territory to be the fief of the Sea Empress 8 clans. May I know which clan among the Sea Empress 8 clans are you from? Please come out and meet me. Our young master, he has something to discuss with you." As soon as the old man's voice fell, a cold snort came from the whirlpool. What is this Empress identity? Is it something a mere human like you can meet? The large-scale whale fall is a gift from nature to the sea, and it belongs to all the creatures of the sea creatures. You humans shouldn't be thinking about it. Hurry up and leave. Otherwise, the deep sea will be your final destination. Upon hearing that, and he waved his hand without another word, and a giant beast that was bigger than the island appeared out of thin air in the sea. This giant beast was shaped like a bull. Its skin was covered in layers of scales, and its skin was grayish-blue. The towering beast was like a huge mountain, rising from the bottom of the sea to the surface of the sea. After being summoned by ink, the giant beast let out a fierce roar. The gigantic beast's voice was like thunder. Following its roar, the entire sea returned to silence. All the seawater that had just crashed into the island along with the huge wave flowed back into the sea, leaving only the huge whirlpool spinning in the sea. Anja looked in the direction of the vortex and said coldly, "This young master doesn't think that the members of the Sea Empire's 8 clans, who are not valued, have anything to be proud of. If you were a member of the Sea Empress 8 clans, that was the center of attention, your fief wouldn't have been distributed around the Radiance continent. Radiance and the Sea Clan have signed the Radiance Sea Treaty. According to the Radiance Sea Treaty, the sea region within 1,000 kilometers of Radiance City belongs to the resources controlled by Radiance City. This large whale fall happened right below Stormy Wave City. According to the Huihai Treaty, the large whale fall right below the island belongs to the owner of the island. This young master wants to tell you that not everything in the sea belongs to the Sea Clan. The things that belong to Radiance are in the sea, and you Sea Clan people can't take them away." While Anja was speaking, a petite figure appeared in the whirlpool. This petite figure was wrapped in a silver-blue robe, and her silver-blue long hair flowed down to her feet. Above her bluish-purple eyes, there were 2 long horns that were almost as tall as her body. The strange thing was that the ends of the long horns weren't hard and sharp, but 2 silver-blue fins. There was a bright golden line in the middle of the fins. Behind this woman stood 2 middle-aged women, one fat and one thin, who looked no different from humans. However, these 2 middle-aged women clearly had the characteristics of aquatic fays. The thinner middle-aged woman had translucent hair, and her body was wrapped in a thick layer of water vapor. The other fat middle-aged woman had bright red scales on her cheeks, and a few sharp thorns protruded from her back. She had a fierce look on her face. However, be it the petite silver-blue long-haired woman standing above the whirlpool, or the fat and thin middle-aged women, they all frowned and looked solemn. The fays that Anja had summoned in the sea had directly revealed his identity. The aura of a bloodline of desolation fae was very easy to identify, and only Her Holiness disciples, and Radiance envoys could obtain such fays. Moreover, there were certain restrictions for Her Holiness disciples to obtain them. Not every Her Holiness disciple could obtain a bloodline of desolation fae. Moreover, Radiance envoys mostly moved in groups, and it was rare for them to act alone in public. Therefore, it was almost certain that this youth with the bloodline of desolation fae was a disciple of one of the Radiance envoys. If that was the case, it would be troublesome. However, this large whale fall was of great importance. The silver-blue long-haired woman made a decision in her heart. No matter what, this large whale fall couldn't be taken away by this youth in front of her, even if this youth was a disciple of one of the Radiance envoys. The silver-blue long-haired woman had such an idea partly because of the Sea Clan's mission. On the other hand, it was out of consideration for her own interests. When the old man behind Anja saw the nearly 3-meter-long fin ribbon at the end of the purple-blue long-haired woman's 2 giant horns, and the thick golden silk thread in the middle of the fin ribbon, his expression became more and more solemn. Anja also noticed this. However, and he didn't take this to heart, and spoke bluntly, "So it's the royal clan of the 8 clans of the Sea Clan. It's said that the royal clan of the 8 clans of the Sea Clan has endless internal strife. The royal clan of the 8 clans of the Sea Clan has fallen from the upper 3 clans to the lower 5 clans 100 years ago. Due to the internal strife, the royal clan slowly declined to the bottom of the 5 clans. Now that I look at it, it's not without reason that the royal clan is at the bottom of the 5 clans. The golden color on your fin ribbon is so rich, and your bloodline is so noble. But the royal clan didn't give you a piece of the rich sea domain in the ocean as a territory. Instead, they made you come here to compete with Radiance for resources. It seems like you're the sacrifice of the royal clan's internal strife. When the old man heard Anha's words, the corners of his mouth twitched. It was fine if young master he could see through these words, but why did he have to say it out loud? Wasn't this poking the royal clan's woman's sore spot? According to the old man's perception, the royal clan's woman's strength was not his match. This royal clan's expert who had just reached adulthood was only at level 3 immortal realm. It was not a match for the 2 Sea King experts standing behind him. However, although the old man could sense that the royal clan's woman's strength was not his, he didn't dare to relax. End of this chapter. Chapter 1300. In the sea region, sea emperors could unleash extremely powerful combat power. It was common for them to surpass 5 to 6 ranks. His old bones main Fei was at peak immortal rank. He could defend himself against 2 sea kings and 1 sea emperor's all-out attack. However, the sea region was too vast. If the 2 sea kings and sea emperor deliberately avoided them, it would be hard for him to launch an effective attack. If that sea emperor deliberately ambushed He, with the 2 sea kings restraining him, he might not be able to protect He at the first moment. If he went all out to deal with this royal family woman, Zhang Cheng and Sun Jiang would deal with the 2 sea kings. Zhang Cheng and Sun Jiang's main phase were at level 4 immortal rank monarch and level 5 immortal rank monarch respectively. However, it would be hard for the 2 of them to protect themselves against 2 level 4 immortal rank sea kings, who could borrow the sea region's ability. In case another sea king came, and he would fall into an absolutely dangerous situation. No matter how strong he was among the younger generation, his desolation bloodline Fei, Zhen Yukue, was only at Diamond V/Fantasy V. It had not even reached Myth Breed, let alone the arrival of another Sea King. Just the aftermath of the battle was enough to kill He 1,000 times. The silver blue-haired woman's face turned gloomier every time she heard He's words. He's words directly poked the woman's sore spot. The woman hated the royal family's internal corruption. The woman was really a victim of the internal conflict, as He said. The woman coming to this sea region was no different from being exiled. However, even if the woman agreed with He's words, it did not mean that she could accept He's wanton ridicule of the royal family, especially the royal family's exile from the 3 upper races to the 5 lower races. Under the woman's gloomy face, the sea region that had just calmed down surged again. These fine waves hit the Zhen Yukue, causing his body to sway left and right in the sea region, looking very pathetic. According to the contract, Anha could feel the pain brought to the mountain-suppressing centipede by the tiny waves that carried a tremendous force, hitting the mountain-suppressing centipede. However, he did not recall the Zhen Yukue. Instead, he ordered the Zhen Yukue, Zhen Yukue, use mountain roar, dry the land. When Zhen Yukue heard He's instructions, he raised his head and let out a thunderous roar. However, after the Zhen Yukue let out a roar, a huge mountain that was nearly 2,000 meters tall suddenly rose from the island. It made the light purple cocoon that was beating like a heart seem small and insignificant. The land on the island began to dry up and crack as the giant mountains rose from the ground, absorbing large amounts of seawater. Seeing this, He's face suddenly changed. Logically speaking, there should be mountains emerging from the sea at this time. The mountains would absorb a large amount of seawater and create a large piece of land in the sea that was connected to the island. But why was there no movement in the sea at all? While he was puzzled, a large number of brown inconspicuous bugs that came along with the current covered the bottom of the sea. These bugs were the reef-touching lice hatched by Lu Jia. A large number of reef-touching lice secreted calcified substances to form a 3-meter-thick calcified shell on the seabed. This layer of calcified shell did not belong to the earth element, but the secretion of the reef lice. It was this layer of calcified shell that caused Jun Yukuei to lose control of the earth element at the bottom of the sea. Looking at the mountains rising from the ground on the island, the silver-blue long-haired woman strolled in the air and landed on the island with two middle-aged women behind her. In the Radiant Sea Treaty signed by the Sea Empire's 8 clans, it is clearly stated that the Radiant side will not interfere with the formation of the island whale embryo. If you have the ability, you still have to take the initiative to help the island whale embryo hatch. The island whale embryo at the bottom of the sea has just formed and is still unstable. According to the Radiant Sea Treaty, even if you are Her Holiness's disciple, you can't touch this large whale fall. Otherwise, it will be equivalent to the Radiant side openly tearing up the Radiant Sea Treaty. The Radiant side will become the enemy of all living beings in the sea region. Upon hearing that, and he revealed a sneer on his face. You also said that the island whale embryo has formed. Since the island whale embryo has formed, even if I take away the large whale fall now, it will not be considered a violation of the Radiant Sea Treaty. All these years, my Radiance's creation masters have hatched countless island whales and let them enter the sea. I, Huiyao, have always been giving favors to the Sea Empire. A large whale fall can only produce dozens of island whale embryos. Dozens of island whale embryos compete with each other for nutrients, and the number of island whale embryos that can hatch in the end is no more than 5 fingers. If I take away the nutrients of this large whale fall, as long as I can hatch 1/3 of these island whale embryos afterward, it will be equivalent to helping the Sea Empire. This is what I say no matter where I go. If you dare to make a move, it can be considered that you are robbing the resources of this island owner, and you are unilaterally tearing up the Radiant Sea Treaty. When the Radiant Sea Treaty was signed 70 years ago, it was the Sea Empire's 8 clans who proposed to sign it with the Radiant Sea Treaty. If you tear up the Radiant Sea Treaty, will the Sea Empire's 8 clans stand on your side, or will they use your life to make amends? No one knows better than you. Therefore, the person who should leave is you, not me. If you leave now, we might be able to cooperate in the future. The silver-haired woman's expression changed again and again. She had put in a lot of effort for this large whale fall to happen here. However, she did not expect those dying giant whales to swim 250 nautical miles and enter the Radiant Sea's territory. This made the blue-haired woman have no choice but to carefully guard this large whale fall in the Radiant Sea's territory. Under the woman's guidance, the island whale hatched from a large whale fall could bring about a revolution in her relatively barren territory. Fortunately, there was an island directly above this large whale fall, and there was an aquatic fey breeding base built by humans on the island. The woman immediately sent people to the island to discuss. In order to block the news, she even sent heaven and earth fays like the sea source grass. Who would have thought that a disciple of Her Holiness would come to the island in the end? Because she understood the attitude of the 8 clans toward the Radiant Sea, the woman did not dare to tear up the Radiant Sea Treaty. On the one hand, after tearing up the Radiant Sea Treaty, the 8 clans would not support her. On the other hand, she was a member of the Sea Empire's clan. After tearing up the Radiant Sea Treaty, the Sea Empire's clan would likely be implicated by her. This would allow the other clans who coveted the position of the Sea Empire's clan to find an excuse to openly attack the Sea Empire's clan. Therefore, the woman finally decided to admit defeat. Recalling the cooperation that the disciple of His Holiness had mentioned, the lady took a deep breath and asked, "Is your master the Moon Empress, Chef Supreme, or Bamboo Monarch?" Upon hearing this, Anhe's face darkened and he said coldly, "My master is called Ji Chongdang. Happy winter solstice. Add more clothes in the cold winter. Pay attention to keep warm. Don't catch a cold, love you." End of chapter. Chapter 1301. The silver-blue long-haired woman cursed in her heart. Solitary eternal lamp is indeed the eternal lamp of the 13 Lords of Radiance, but your master is not a Class 5 creation master. What's there to cooperate with me for? Before leaving, the woman suddenly thought of something and asked Anhe, "Logically speaking, this large whale fall belongs to the owner of this island. Show me proof that you're the island's owner, and I'll leave immediately." And he was immediately dumbfounded. The Blissful Sea Tribe was the island's owner, and they had just completed the Blood Oath Extreme duel with the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden in the royal capital. Even if he wanted to find the people of the Blissful Sea Tribe, he couldn't afford to buy the island from the Blissful Sea Tribe. It would take at least a day to bring the Blissful Sea Tribe from the royal capital and make a round trip. One day was enough for the woman in front of him to collect the resources of a large whale fall. The woman's eyes lit up when she saw He's expression, but she immediately became angry. If you're not the island's owner, why are you talking nonsense with me for so long? You even brought up the Huihai Treaty. I'm not going to snatch Raging Wave City's resources. I'm going to snatch the island's owner's resources. Only the island's owner is qualified to negotiate with me. Looking at He in front of her, the more she thought about it, the angrier she got. Thinking about how He had ridiculed the royal family and used the Huihai Treaty to suppress her, the woman's expression turned gloomy. The woman thought to herself, give this kid a slap. As long as you don't break him, even if the Lord Eternal Lamp is protective, he won't go so far as to catch me when I hide in the sea, right? With that thought in mind, the woman immediately tilted her head and swung her horns forward. Two dark blue water pillars hit the face of the old man behind He. While the old man was blocking the water pillars, the woman waved her hand. A round slap landed on He's face. With that slap, the woman immediately felt the anger in her heart calming down. The woman cursed loudly. You're not the island's owner. Why are you talking to me about mountains? He's body became unsteady from the woman's slap, and he fell to the ground. And he who fell to the ground was stunned for a moment. Feeling the burning pain on his face, the anger in He's heart rushed to the top of his head uncontrollably. After the old man behind He casually released a skill to block the water column, he happened to see He being slapped in the face by the woman. Upon seeing this scene, the old man immediately stood between He and the woman and summoned his fae furiously. A sheep with 4 hooves ablaze with green flames and several curved horns on its head appeared in front of the old man. There was a layer of mist floating around the sheep's body. After the sheep was summoned by the old man, it suddenly stomped its front hooves. The 2 balls of green flames on its hooves attacked the woman. Upon seeing this, the 2 ocean kings behind the woman immediately activated their immortal bodies and blocked the attacks of the 2 green flames. The old man looked at the silver blue-haired woman in front of him and said coldly, don't hit people's faces. Slapping Master He's face is no different from slapping Master Changdang's face. Woman, you are courting death. Just as both sides were about to launch their attacks, a young and clear voice rang out from afar. Who gave you the right to destroy my island's fishing grounds and topography? You have to fight in the high seas, but before you fight, you have to calculate how much money you should compensate me to make up for the island's losses. This voice came from Lin Yuan. On the way here, Lin Yuan thought about it again, and finally decided to take off the mask that represented Sky City's City Lord identity. He was going to fight for this large-scale whale fall, as the Moon Empress disciple. Qi Heng had returned to the royal capital, and Lin Yuan didn't care what identity he used. Anyway, there was a small probability that the dispute would be spread by He, and even if it was spread, it wouldn't prove anything. In addition, Lin Yuan had to use the identity of the Moon Empress disciple to solve the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden's problems in Sky City. If Qi Heng found out afterward, he might think that the Moon Empress disciple had intercepted the Sky City's City Lord. Lin Yuan held the Stormy Waveguard Captain's certificate in his hand, which could prove that Lin Yuan was the owner of this large-scale whale fall. Next, be it within he or the marine species experts, Lin Yuan was always the most reasonable one. After knowing that Lin Yuan had decided to participate in this storm as the Moon Empress disciple, the mother of Bloodbath and Lu Jie took off their masks. After thinking for a moment, Lu Jie decided to wear the Spirit Guard's standard mask on his face. He didn't intend to tell the outside world that Lu Jie was the chief guard's disciple. While talking, Lin Yuan's eyes weren't idle. He was using Morbius True Data to find out about the bull-shaped fae that was bigger than the island in the sea, as well as the huge purple cocoon beside the towering mountain on the island. Fae name: Mountain Guard Kuei, Fey species, odoriferous/desolate Fey grade. Diamond 10 out of 10, Fey type, Earth Fey quality. Fantasy V abilities Frowny Face Mountain Ripple. Gather the power of the mountain and charge toward the target. Mountain Ripple 9 tremors. The target hit by the mountain ripple will suffer 9 tremors when the earth elements invade the body. The 9 tremors damage will not stack, but an explosion will occur when 2 tremors collide. Mountain Roar. The roar commands the earth elements within a certain range, causing them to jump and gather together to form a towering mountain. Dry Land. Uses the earth elements to absorb the other elemental energy in the surroundings, using the other elemental energy as nutrients to make the earth elements more active and harder. Mountain Defense. Sacrifices a designated mountain and shrouds the target with the mountain's endurance, helping the target resist physical and elemental damage. Earth Vein Transformation injects all the earth elements in the body into the ground, triggering the earth veins and changing the terrain. Through the earth veins, the activity of the earth elements in the ground will be enhanced, causing the activity of the earth elements to multiply. Exclusive skill Frowny Face Earth Suppression Lian Li. When hearing the target's voice, the karmic lines on the target's body can be detected based on the target's voice. Through the karmic lines, the target's good or evil can be determined. When facing the judged good, the target's defense will be greatly increased. When facing the judged evil, the target's attack power will be increased. Only one target can be detected at a time, and the increase in detection will not increase with the number of targets detected. Forbidden Fruit of Earth orders the earth to gather all the earth elements and produce a forbidden fruit on the earth veins. After eating the forbidden fruit, the entire land will become a part of the body for a short time. ABC. Chapter 1302. Fey name. Awakening Hibernation Horned Dragon, Fey species, Lepidoptera/horned species Fey grade. Diamond 10 out of 10, Fey type, Water/Earth Fey quality. Fantasy IV abilities Frowny Face Surging Rock. Condense a solid rock body by tempering the earth elements in the ground. Control the rock body to form various shapes, and surge out of the surface to launch attacks. Repelling rock body. Through the mutation of the earth elements in the rock body, allow the rock body to have a certain gravitational and repulsive force, and freely manipulate them. Awakening Hibernation Statue. Condense a stone statue with the same strength as the main body. The stone statue can recover injuries by absorbing earth elements. Water-Earth Transformation. Swallow the water elements and earth elements into the abdomen. The water elements around the swallowed earth elements can be freely transformed into earth elements, and earth elements into water elements. Dragon Body Liberation. Instantly stimulate the energy in the body, gather the energy in the body on the dragon horn, and launch an all-out attack at the target. Hibernation Revival. When receiving fatal damage, the fatal damage can be transferred to the Awakening Hibernation Statue. When the Awakening Hibernation Statue shatters, the main body will obtain vitality equal to the damage the Awakening Hibernation Statue received. Exclusive skill Frowny Face Weak Insect Body. Transform oneself into an insect state, overturning Stinger, to accumulate energy. When one wants to transform into the main body, one needs to go through a period of cocooning. At that time, the accumulated energy in the insect body will be perfectly integrated into the original body. The insect body can contain twice the energy of the main body. Earth Attraction Body. Turn oneself into the core of gravitational or repulsive force. Under the state of gravitational force, one can attract the surrounding things to the front of oneself. Under the effect of repulsive force, one can expel everything around oneself in other directions, with oneself as the origin. Lin Yuan didn't investigate these two phases blindly and subconsciously. Through his perception, Lin Yuan found that these two phases had the weakest auras in the entire place. This meant that these two phases were likely to be in He's phase. Probing these two phases would be considered obtaining in He's information. Lin Yuan's eyes suddenly narrowed, and He's strength was stronger than Lin Yuan had imagined. It was no wonder and he could take advantage of Gu Lang. Had it not been for Zhongzai's desolate bloodline Fei, the heaven-burning centipede's bloodline purification, and the red plum meteorite fire, Zhongzhe might not have been in He's match. He might not even be in He's opponent in a fight. And He's desolate bloodline Fei, suppressing Mountain Kuei, was a pure Earth-type desolate bloodline Fei, and had extremely strong control over Earth. Lin Yuan's Golden Wing, a desolation bloodline Fei, was only at bronze, and its ability had yet to take form. It was impossible to make an effective comparison with Zhenyu Kuei. If Zhenyu Kuei and Heaven Burning Ho were to be compared, Zhenyu Kuei's skill, Mountain Shaking 9 Quakes, and Heaven Burning Ho's skill, Heavenly Flame 8 Refinements, were similar. Although the damage of the Mountain Shaking 9 Tremors could not be stacked like the Mystical Flame 8 Refinements, the damage of the Mountain Shaking 9 Tremors could not be stacked. However, it could induce the earth element to explode in the process of vibrating, causing damage to the target's body. Combined with Mountain Shaker, Lin Yuan could not accurately estimate how much damage the Diamond X/Fantasy V Mountain Shaker 9 shocks would cause to the target. In short, with just these two skills, Zhenyu Kuei could challenge those of a higher level. At this moment, the 1,000-meter-tall mountains on the island were most likely the result of mountain-suppressing Kuei's mountain roar. The mountain-suppressing Ho's dry land solidification allowed Zhenyu Kuei to not be passive in any environment. The ability to turn other elements into earth elements allowed Zhenyu Kuei to become an all-around Fei in all environments. This was much stronger than Zhongzhe's Heaven Burning Ho and Lin Yuan's Golden Wing. Zhongzhe's Heaven Burning Ho and Lin Yuan's Golden Wing could not adapt to all environments. In an environment without fire elements, the Heaven Burning Ho's strength would be limited. In an environment without wind, the Golden Wing would not be able to control the wind elements to carry out effective attacks on the target. However, the strength of a Desolation Bloodline Fei could not be compared based on whether it could adapt to the environment or not. Take Lin Yuan's Golden Wing for example. The Golden Wing's exclusive skill, Unpredictable Temperament, could store any exclusive skills and passive skills belonging to other Feis. This was not something that the Zhenyu Kuei's exclusive skills and skills could compare. If Lin Yuan was willing, the Zhenyu Kuei's exclusive skills, Earth Suppression Lotus Rite, and Forbidden Fruit of Earth, Golden Wing could be stored. In fact, the Zhenyu Kuei was not only a Fei that could adapt to all environments, but its abilities, Dry Land Solidification and Earth Vein Transformation, could also enhance other Earth-type Feis, especially the Earth Vein Transformation, which could guide the Earth Vein to change the direction of the Earth Vein, was something that Lin Yuan's Source Sand could not do. The Earth element's activity would double, allowing any Earth-type ability to achieve double the original effect. The mountain range fortification allowed the Zhenyu Kuei to have the ability to protect itself and its companions by sacrificing mountains. In addition, the mountain range could be easily created with the mountain's roar. This greatly enhanced the defensive effect of the mountain range fortification. The exclusive skill, Earth Suppression Lotus Rite, was able to distinguish between good and evil. It was similar to a kind of mind-reading ability. It allowed Anha to use karma to distinguish between good and evil. Not only could the Earth Suppression Lotus Rite determine good and evil, but it could also use good and evil to increase its defense or attack power. On a powerful target, a 20% increase in attack power or defense was not a small amount. As for the Zhenyu Kuei's exclusive skill, Forbidden Fruit of Earth, Lin Yuan had nothing to say. The Forbidden Fruit of Earth was the strongest exclusive skill among all the Earth-type Feis that Lin Yuan had seen. When the Zhenyu Kuei used his exclusive skill, Forbidden Earth Fruit, he could proudly say to all the Earth Elemental Feis, "I am the Earth." In fact, what made Lin Yuan feel that Anha was strong was not just the Zhenyu Kuei's strength, but the combination of the Zhenyu Kuei and the Awakening Hibernation Drake's abilities. The Awakening Hibernation Drake was an Earth-type and Water-type Fei. At the same time, it could also use extremely exquisite gravitational and repulsive forces. If the Zhenyu Kuei was said to be a functional Fei with the Desolation bloodline that combined offense and defense, then the Awakening Hibernation Drake would be a perfect main attacker. The Awakening Hibernation Drake's ability, Awakening Hibernation Image, was a perfect copy of an existence with the same combat power as its main body. The ability, Hibernation Revival, allowed the awakening hibernation drake to borrow the awakening hibernation image to reduce damage. After the awakening hibernation image was shattered, the awakening hibernation drake could also use it to recover a certain amount of vitality. This allowed the awakening hibernation drake to not only treat the awakening hibernation image as its assistant, but it could also use it as a shield and a medical kit. The ability, Water-Earth Transformation, allowed the awakening hibernation drake to be more agile in combat. The Dragon Body Liberation gave the awakening hibernation drake the ability to strike at full force. Lin Yuan had never seen a Fae that could use gravitational and repulsive forces. He wondered if being able to use gravity and repulsion would be strong in battle. However, the ability to attract things in the surroundings to its front or use itself as the origin to push everything in the surroundings away would not be too weak. ABC Chapter 1303. The only thing that could be criticized about the awakening hibernating drake was its weak ability. The hinterland hibernating worm would need to go through a cocoon to transform into an awakening hibernating drake. During this process, the awakening hibernating drake would be an immovable target. However, this was precisely the reason why the awakening hibernating drake was so powerful. When the cocoon broke and the awakening hibernating drake appeared, the accumulated energy in the hinterland hibernating worm state would allow the awakening hibernating drake's strength to multiply. The awakening hibernating drake was undoubtedly another Fae that could fight above its grade. The awakening hibernating drake was an Earth and Earth dual Fae. In addition, the awakening hibernating drake had the ability to convert water and earth elements. And his awakening hibernating drake was only at Fantasy 4. One reason and he wanted to fight for this large whale fall was to obtain the island whale embryo. The other reason was to use the large whale fall's nutrients to increase the awakening hibernating drake's quality. From Fantasy 4 to Fantasy V, Lin Yuan secretly calculated in his heart. Just with the suppressing mountain Kuei and the awakening hibernating drake summoned by Anhe, Lin Yuan would not be able to defeat Anhe with his contracted phase. In order to defeat Anhe, Lin Yuan would need to use the Sacred Source Lifeform Princess Sacred Sword mode. After inspecting the suppressing mountain Kuei and the awakening hibernating drake, Lin Yuan did not inspect any other phase present. With the Void Shadow Demon in his shadow, he could sense that none of the other phase present were below immortal rank. As for immortal rank phase, Lin Yuan was unable to use Morbius True Data to inspect them. Forcefully inspecting them would instead cause the inspected target to react. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, the silver blue-haired woman and Anhe's side, which were in a stalemate, suddenly looked in Lin Yuan's direction. However, the expressions on their faces were completely different. Anhe's face, which was originally filled with anger, revealed an ecstatic expression. The silver blue-haired woman's brows were tightly furrowed. The woman's expression, which had been one of relief, became abnormally grave. The old man behind Anhe looked at Lin Yuan and turned to shout at the silver blue-haired woman. Flame-treading light smoke beast, immortal body activate. Even if I can't keep you here, I will keep the two sea kings behind you here. Let's see how you're going to develop in the territory without your left and right arms. Following the elder's command, the multi-horned sheep that was shrouded in mist and stood on green flames immediately let out a deafening roar. Immediately after, the fog above the island thickened, and green flames surged within the fog. In the mist, a middle-aged man with Fae characteristics appeared in the air. He had goat horns on his head, hooves on his feet, and a tail on his buttocks. His skin was covered with fur and colored armor. His eyes had the eyes of a beast, and his neck had the mane of a beast. His body was like colored glass. 9 distinct Fae characteristics appeared on the middle-aged man's body, which was shrouded in mist, and had 4 feet treading on flames. This was enough to prove that this flame-treading light smoke beast was a rank 9 immortal Fae. After the flame-treading smoke beast activated its immortal skill, the lingering mist shot towards the silver blue-haired woman and the 2 women behind her. Looking at the green flames within the smoke, the silver blue long-haired woman knew that she could not dodge at this time. Although he could easily dodge this attack by running away, the two subordinates behind him couldn't. Under such an attack, even if the two of them didn't die, they would be severely injured. In a battle where one's rank was superior, once they were injured, there would be no possibility of escape. After understanding this, the silver-blue long-haired woman shouted, "The two of you can't block it. Don't block it forcefully. Hurry up and activate your immortal body and hide under my tail." After saying that, the silver-blue long-haired woman's horns, which were almost as long as her body, released a faint blue light. The woman swung the two thick golden fins on her horns forward. The woman's original human form suddenly had some fish-like characteristics. The woman's legs suddenly closed, and glossy silver scales grew on her legs. Although the woman's closed legs didn't form a mermaid's tail, it was even more magnificent than a mermaid's tail. At the end of the tail, there was a silver fin that drifted with the wind. There was also a thick golden thread on the silver fin at the tail. As the three fin ribbons danced, the woman seemed to have become the core of the sea. At this moment, the sea turned from its original dark blue to the color of ink. The ink seawater formed a huge wave that was enough to cover a 2-kilometer mountain. But this huge wave didn't rush toward the island. Instead, it rushed toward the light fog and green smoke that the flaming treading light smoke beast was attacking. When the ink seawater touched the green flame that was wrapped in the light fog, the golden thread on the woman's three fin ribbons suddenly lit up. The woman stretched out her hand and pointed forward as she shouted, "Ink Sea Abyssal Dark Water Emperor's Edict." Because he had been slapped in the face, the elder's heart was already filled with killing intent. Therefore, he ordered the flaming treading light smoke beast to activate its immortal body and attack with a killing move, leaving no room for maneuver. Under such a strong attack, the purple-blue long-haired woman and the two sea kings behind her didn't have the time to react. However, Sun Jiang, who was from the 5 Thearchs mercenary team, recognized Lin Yuan the moment he saw him. The person who represented the 5 Thearchs mercenary team to attend the Nyx assembly was Sun Jiang. Lin Yuan had shown brilliantly in the civil and martial duel with Zhongzhe at the Nyx assembly, making everyone unaware that he was the Moon Empress disciple. Before anyone knew that he was the Moon Empress disciple, they couldn't take their eyes off this young man. Moreover, during the Nyx assembly, Lin Yuan didn't just take the first place in the civil and martial duel. In the civil and martial duel that no one saw, Lin Yuan also suppressed Zhongzhe and took the first place. Behind the Moon Empress disciple stood a youth wearing a Spirit Guard standard mask. Looking at his figure and temperament, this youth wearing the Spirit Guard standard mask was very likely the Spirit Guard Chief Guard Knight Leaning Moon's disciple. 2 of Her Holiness disciples were on this island, and the Moon Empress disciple Lin Yuan even said that this island was his private property. It seemed like it would be difficult for young Master He to obtain the large whale fall. While Sun Jiang was thinking, Zhang Cheng, who was beside him, couldn't help but speak after hearing Lin Yuan's words. "Kid, do you have the proof from Stormy Wave City to prove that you are the island's owner?" Lin Yuan raised his brows and replied, Of course. Of course. I can't prove that this island is mine, and I don't have the right to ask you to stop. However, you didn't seem to have the intention to stop after listening to my words. Instead, you started to fight." Zhang Cheng's face lit up when he heard Lin Yuan's words, while Sun Jiang's heart was in his throat. Sun Jiang couldn't care less and quickly pulled Zhang Cheng, who was beside him. ABC. Chapter 1304. Only those who attended the Great Night meeting were fortunate enough to see the Moon Empress disciples and the Chief Night Bureau's disciples. There were no Star Web reporters at the Nyx assembly, and no one dared to take photos of such a grand event. If they took a picture of a big boss and spread it out, it would cause a disaster for no reason. Therefore, most of the factions had only heard of the Moon Empress disciple's name. However, Lin Yuan had been chosen as a lucky spectator during the challenge match at the All-Star match. Many factions used this opportunity to know what the Moon Empress disciple looked like. Sun Jiang remembered that he had told Zhang Cheng before, but Zhang Cheng clearly hadn't watched this year's All-Star competition. Otherwise, It was impossible for him not to recognize Lin Yuan now. Otherwise, no matter how stupid Zhang Cheng was, he wouldn't rush to question Lin Yuan in front of he to show off. Zhang Cheng was suddenly pulled by Sun Jiang, and he immediately turned to look at Sun Jiang. She didn't understand why Sun Jiang was pulling her so hard. Seeing Sun Jiang winking at him, Zhang Cheng thought that Sun Jiang had taken the wrong medicine. Just now, when Zhang Cheng called he to wake up, and he glared at him several times, which made Zhang Cheng feel very wronged. At this moment, Zhang Cheng wanted to take this opportunity to change he's opinion of him. Thus, Zhang Cheng ignored Sun Jiang, who was winking at him. Instead, he turned to look at Lin Yuan and yelled, "You're not going to fight me? Our young master he wants this island. Hurry up and hand over the proof to young master he. When young master he is done with the matter at hand, you won't be lacking in benefits." When Sun Jiang heard that, he hated himself for only pulling Zhang Cheng and not covering his mouth. Zhang Cheng's mouth was like the crotch of an old lady's cotton pants. Nothing good would come out of his mouth. That was the Moon Empress disciple. What right does a leader of a top-notch faction like you have to speak to the Moon Empress disciple in such a manner? Even if young master he was Lord Changdeng's disciple, there would still be a lot of benefits. Young master he was not qualified to say such words to Lin Yuan, who was also His Holiness disciple. Since Zhang Cheng had already said it, there was no turning back. Sun Jiang was prepared to inform he of Lin Yuan's identity immediately. Based on Sun Jiang's understanding of he, who had never been concerned about external affairs, it was impossible for he to recognize the Moon Empress disciple just based on appearance. Just as Sun Jiang was about to tell he about Lin Yuan's identity, Sun Jiang heard the voice of the youth on the back of the huge butterfly who was rushing toward them. "Do I have to give your young master he what he wants? I didn't know your young master he had such a big face." Sun Jiang's heart thumped when he heard that. She hurriedly came to he's ear, bent down and whispered in he's ear, "Young master he, the person who came is Lin Yuan, the Moon Empress disciple. The youth wearing the Spirit Guard standard mask behind Lin Yuan is most likely Night Leaning Moon's disciple." Since Zhang Cheng's words had caused a conflict, and he had to know Lin Yuan's identity. Otherwise, Lin Yuan's words would have been enough to ignite Anha, who had been slapped in the face. If Lin Yuan and he had a confrontation, then the matter would be completely blown up. However, Sun Jiang was an emperor-class powerhouse who had come out of the Bright Lamp Tower to establish his own force. At this time, he simply could not control the development of the situation. It was useless to worry. In the end, it still depended on Lin Yuan and he. Looking at the enraged Zhang Cheng after hearing Lin Yuan's words, Sun Jiang came to Zhang Cheng's side and covered Zhang Cheng's mouth tightly. He had made up his mind to stop Zhang Cheng from speaking. If Zhang Cheng said something disrespectful at this time, and the Moon Empress disciple pursued the matter, Zhang Cheng would be in big trouble. When he heard Sun Jiang's words, his eyes flickered, and he took a deep breath and said to the old man who was fighting with the silver blue-haired woman, "Grandfather Gu, stop first." After asking the old man to stop, and he turned to look at Lin Yuan with a complicated gaze. At the same time he looked at Lu Jia. After looking for a long time, and he said, "Apologies. My uncle didn't know your identity and said something disrespectful. I hope you don't mind." When Zhang Cheng, whose mouth was covered by Sun Jiang, heard he's words, he was stunned. He didn't understand why young master he would apologize to the person who came. The person who just came obviously didn't give young master he any face, and from young master he's words, he was apologizing on his behalf. Unlike Zhang Cheng, who was clueless about the situation, Sun Jiang's heart was overflowing with warmth when he heard he's words. And he had just suffered a slap, and his heart was raging with rage. Since he was willing to speak up for Zhang Cheng, it was enough to prove that he really treated Zhang Cheng as his elder, and not just a servant. Even if Zhang Cheng's words never made he feel comfortable. When Lin Yuan heard he took the initiative to apologize, he didn't continue to put on an overbearing attitude. However, when he looked at the island in front of him, he didn't feel happy at all. The island that the Sea of Bliss had painstakingly built to make a comeback had been destroyed beyond recognition, by an he and the sea species experts. If they wanted to develop this island again, everything had to be rebuilt. At this moment, the angelfish of bliss that the Sea of Bliss had reared in the distant sea had probably escaped into the sea. I appreciate your apology. Calculate the losses on this island, then leave this island. Everyone can develop on their own and live in peace. Snatching resources in the public area depends on one's own ability. In someone else's territory, there is no such thing as fair competition for resources. If you want to fight for resources in someone else's territory, it is equivalent to plundering. I think young master he should understand this principle. And his face suddenly turned gloomy, and he didn't speak anymore. The old man in front of him, he was also puzzled and frowned at Lin Yuan. The old man was in his path protector, and he always followed in he wherever he went. And he didn't participate in the Nix assembly, so the old man naturally couldn't find out Lin Yuan's identity from an he. After the Nix assembly, and he was taught a lesson by Her Highness Long Lantern and driven out to train, the old man couldn't find out who the Moon Empress disciple was from others. At this moment, the old man saw and he stepped forward and asked, "Let me confirm your identity now. You are the Moon Empress disciple, and you are the Chief Guard Ye's disciple, right?" Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan and Lu Jie nodded and calmly admitted their identities. Back then, Lin Yuan took off the mask that represented Sky City's city lord and took over the island as the Moon Empress disciple. He wanted to communicate with and he as an equal with this identity, and he could give face to Her Highness disciple, but he might not necessarily give face to the faction's leader. Through the contact with Zhongzhe and Gu Lang, Lin Yuan could feel their contempt for the faction. From Zhongzhe and Gu Lang's attitude, Lin Yuan could feel their contempt for the faction. ABC. Chapter 1305. After Lin Yuan and Lu Jie nodded, the old man's and Zhang Qing's gazes at them immediately changed. In particular, the old man behind him he was looking at Lin Yuan with a somewhat complicated expression. If it was another Majesty's disciple, young master he might not give him any face when he got angry. Even the Class 5 Creation Master, Bamboo Monarch's disciple, Gulang Anha, didn't show any mercy. However, this matter involved the Moon Empress disciple, so and he would definitely give her face. It seemed that Anha was destined to give up this large whale fall. The old man knew Lin Yuan's and Lu Jie's identities, but Zhang Qing was dumbfounded. After being dumbfounded, Zhang Qing felt a lingering fear in his heart. In the end, Zhang Qing thought of Anheuser-Busch apologizing on his behalf. Zhang Qing's uneasy heart suddenly gave birth to a warm current that washed over his whole body. Anha extended his hand to Lin Yuan and said, "Show me the proof from Stormy Wave City." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan placed the document that the Stormy Wave Guard captain had just signed 2 days ago in Anha's hand. Seeing the seal of the Stormy Wave City Lord Mansion and the date of change on the document, and he calmly returned the certificate to Lin Yuan and said, "I'll let you guys assess the damage on the island. I won't give you any less compensation." The proof just now was equivalent to Lin Yuan giving he a lesson, letting him understand that he had to start from the root of things. Otherwise, all of his efforts would be in vain once someone else grasped the root of the problem. Although Anha decided not to compete for this large whale fall. However, the large whale that was supposed to be in his hands had changed owners, which made he even more unhappy, and he turned his head and looked sharply at the silver blue-haired woman. "I don't want the large whale fall anymore. It's time for us to settle the score." The silver blue-haired woman ignored he and spoke to Lin Yuan. "Are you the disciple of the Radiant Moon Empress? Nice to meet you. My name is Indai. I came here to help you defend this huge whale fall. That's why I got into a conflict with them. At the end of the day, it's all thanks to my guidance that the whale would land here. Now they're blaming me for not letting them receive this huge whale fall. You can't just ignore it." Upon hearing her words, Lin Yuan's brows twitched wildly. A group of cetacean fays at the end of their lifespans would have to cruise for up to 3 years before dying. The whales would cruise to determine where they would land in the end. The silver blue-haired woman was a member of one of the 8 imperial clans of Neptune. She indeed had the ability to change the giant whale's choice of landing position. But let's not talk about whether you were the one who caused this massive whale fall. Even if you were the one who caused it, what does it have to do with me? It has only been 3 days since I became the master of this island. As for the woman's claim that it was to stop he from collecting the large whale fall, that was even more ridiculous. Obviously, it was this woman who was waiting here to collect the large whale fall. The conflict between her and he was purely because of the competition for resources. Looking at the palm print on the left side of He's face that hadn't disappeared, Lin Yuan could guess that there was no longer any interest in this conflict. The reason why he still couldn't give up. If you slapped someone in the face and wanted them to not find trouble with you, then wouldn't he become a male bodhisattva? When Indai saw that Lin Yuan did not respond to her, she could not help but blink. Originally, before slapping he in the face, Indai had been forced by the situation to give up the large-scale whale fall. She had slapped he in the face purely to vent her anger. Indai knew that he would find trouble with her after she vented her anger, and would not let it go. However, as an expert of the imperial clan who had just reached adulthood, Indai also had the capital to slap he in the face. As long as Indai wanted to hide, unless the eternal lamp crown evaporated all the ocean, she would not be able to find him. Otherwise, it would be impossible for her to find him. Without this large whale fall, Indai did not care much about this not-so-rich territory outside the Radiance sect. However, Lin Yuan's arrival had solved Indai's dilemma to some extent. In addition, Lin Yuan's temperament and appearance were very attractive to Indai. Somehow, Indai just wanted to take the initiative to talk to Lin Yuan a few more times. When the old man next to he, Zhang Cheng, and Sun Jiang heard Indai's words, their faces turned terrifyingly gloomy. Just as the old man was about to command the flaming light smoke beast to attack Indai again, Indai took the lead and spoke to Lin Yuan again. My territory is outside the Stormy Wave City. From west to east, it is about 100,000 square nautical miles. If you help me, I will let you choose the resources in this sea region. Perhaps we can even mutually benefit from this 100,000 square nautical miles of sea region and reach some cooperation. Just now he said that his master is called Ji Changdang and wants to cooperate with me. I am not interested in the Radiant Sect's majesty who is not a creation master, so I am willing to trade with you. Before Lin Yuan could speak, and he exploded when he heard Indai's words. From Indai's tone, and he could hear that Indai was currying favor with Lin Yuan's master, and despising his master. Thinking of his master's situation, and he could no longer hold it in. And he immediately turned his head and spoke to Lin Yuan. I heard that you are the champion of the Evernight Convention's civil and martial ring. You should be very strong. I know that you really want to trade with this woman of the Ocean Empire's 8 clans. Let's have a fight. If I lose, I will no longer pursue this female seafood and find trouble with her. If you lose, I don't need you to do anything. I just hope that you know that the Radiant Sect's 13 majesties are equal. Among the 13 majesties, the Moon Empress, the Chef Supreme, and the Bamboo Monarch are not higher than the other 10 majesties. Lin Yuan was stunned by He's words. He did not understand why he would inexplicably challenge him. However, based on Indai's words and He's reaction, Lin Yuan felt that He's mind was relatively simple. He did not like to hide anything, and liked to express it straightforwardly. Lin Yuan could hear that he was very repulsed by the opinion that a Class 5 Creation Master status was higher than the other majesties. Perhaps this was why he always found trouble with Gu Lang and Zhongzhe. Zhongzhe and Gu Lang just did not like he, but they did not really hate him. The Radiance Sect's 13 majesties jointly maintained the Radiance Federation's glory as one of the 3 major federations, and the stability of the Radiance Sect's billions of people. Every majesty had an indispensable position, and was working hard for the Radiance Sect. Lin Yuan's master, the Moon Empress, the Chef Supreme, and the Bamboo Monarch were Class 5 Creation Masters who could enhance phase, and the other majesties had to look for the Moon Empress, the Chef Supreme, and the Bamboo Monarch for help. But when it came to the position of majesties, There was no difference in their status. Lin Yuan loved his master, the Moon Empress, the most, but he also respected the other 13 majesties of the Radiance sect. However, and he was right about one thing, Indai's words had aroused Lin Yuan's interest. ABC. Chapter 1306. Lin Yuan had the intention to cooperate with Indai regarding the resources within the 100,000 miles of the sea. Lin Yuan walked in front of He and looked at the frowning and stubbornness in He's eyes. He said softly, "As far as I can remember, I have never seen His Majesty the Eternal Lamp. But in my heart, His Majesty and my master are both majesties, and there is no difference between them. The sea tribe is born from phase, and we are used to looking at things from the perspective of phase, but we are humans. It's not just me. Zongzi and Gu Lang think the same." Lin Yuan looked at the stubbornness in He's eyes. It was probably because of this that He had always been at odds with Gu Lang and Zongzi. If not for the fact that He already had this idea in his heart, Indai's words would not have hurt him so much. And he was stunned when he heard Lin Yuan's words. And he pursed his lips and stared into Lin Yuan's eyes, looking at the unfeigned sincerity in Lin Yuan's eyes. And he felt as though he could see a pure and real soul through Lin Yuan's eyes. However, the fact that staring into Lin Yuan's eyes made him fall into a daze made He's pursed lips even tighter. And he only felt that the back of his ears was a little hot. And he hurriedly changed the topic. He casually grabbed a rainbow light orb and said to Lin Yuan, "I still want to fight with you. If you win, I will give this uncontracted sacred source life form to you as a wager." Lin Yuan looked at the sacred source life form in He's hand and asked, "What about me? What about me?" And he pointed at the giant purple cocoon beside him and said, "My awakening terror drake needs this large-scale whale fall to evolve from Fantasy 4 to Fantasy V. If I win, I hope you will allow me to use the resources from this large-scale whale fall to raise the awakening terror drake's quality. Raising the awakening terror drake's quality will require less than 1/10 of the resources from this large-scale whale fall." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan shook his head. With a shake of his hand, he also took out a colorful light ball and said to He said to He, "This large-scale whale fall is also useful to me, so I cannot allow you to use the resources from this large-scale whale fall. I won't take advantage of you. I'll also use an uncontracted sacred source life form as the wager." Lu Jia, the slaughterer butterfly, and the mother of bloodbath were used to Lin Yuan and He's wager. In the mansion, Lin Yuan had taken out many sacred source life forms for others to contract. The old man behind He did not feel anything, but Zhang Cheng and Sun Jiang were not calm. This was a sacred source life form. Sacred source life forms were Zhang Cheng and Sun Jiang's dream. Moreover, the two of them had never contracted a sacred source life form, so they coveted sacred source life forms. However, Zhang Cheng and Sun Jiang were not the most greedy ones but Indai. Indai was a member of the royal family who had been ostracized, and even her fiefdom was given to her in the sea region, which was barren of resources. Therefore, even though Indai had reached the immortal realm, she had never contracted a sacred source life form like Zhang Cheng and Sun Jiang. The main reason why Indai was willing to come to this sea region, which was barren of resources, was that she wanted to see the sea region that he was guarding. Could this sea region coincidentally open up a Class 5 water world dimensional rift? At the immortal realm, Indai could easily obtain a sacred source life form from a Class 5 water world dimensional rift. However, Class 5 water world dimensional rifts were too difficult to obtain. In any case, Indai had never encountered one before. However, among the 3 upper races of the Ocean Empire's 8 races, Mermaid Mang from the Imperial Mermaid race happened to open a Class 5 water world dimensional rift in her territory not long ago. This made Indai extremely envious. It was not that Indai had not thought of snatching the sacred source life form from the Class 5 water world dimensional rift in Mermaid Mang's territory. However, Indai could not defeat Mermaid Mang. Even if Mermaid Mang entered her own sea region, Indai could only flee. After all, Mermaid Mang was a Class 9 great monarch, and a Class 8 Immortal Realm expert. At the same time, Mermaid Mang possessed a sacred source life form. Recently, Dai had been feeling a faint sense of danger. Based on her intuition, Dai felt that this sense of danger was related to Mermaid Mang. Right now, the sacred source life form that she had been yearning for was in someone else's hands as a wager. This gave Dai the illusion that sacred source life forms had become cabbages. And he did not say anything and only nodded. He agreed with Lin Yuan's words. And he felt rather melancholy. The water element produced by a large whale fall was the purest. According to the grade of Heavenly Maiden Grade Elemental Pearls, the water element in a large whale fall was much purer than Ding Fuxing's pearl. To be able to reach the purity of Lan Lanshan's pearl, there was almost no stock of Heavenly Maiden Grade water elemental pearls in the market. It seemed that if he wanted to improve the waking hibernating nightmare dragon's quality, he would have to encounter another large whale fall. Otherwise, his master would have to seek help from Bamboo Monarch or Chef Supreme, and he did not want to cause trouble for his master. Thus, he planned to rely on his own strength to collect the Heavenly Maiden Grade water elemental pearls in Lan Lanshan's pearl, or search for information about a large whale fall. The battle now is unfair to you. My waking hibernating nightmare dragon has been in a cocoon for a long time, and can break out at any time. I will give you time to prepare. Once you are done, we will begin the battle. Lin Yuan shook his head and said, "There is no need to prepare. There's no need to set up anything." After saying that, Lin Yuan did not probe Zhongzhe like he had done during the civil and martial duel. The princess's projection appeared behind Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan had probed Zhongzhe because he did not know what phase Zhongzhe had. Now that He's phase had been summoned and displayed, Lin Yuan had finished probing them. He's desolate bloodline phase, mountain-suppressing Kuei, and the waking hibernating nightmare dragon had the ability to fight above their ranks and protect themselves. In a battle with He, Lin Yuan would bring out his full strength from the start and catch He off guard. When He heard Lin Yuan say "let's begin," he thought that Lin Yuan was looking down on him. However, when he saw Lin Yuan activate the sacred source life form without hesitation, and he knew that Lin Yuan was not looking down on him. If Lin Yuan had been looking down on him, he would not have used the sacred source life form, and he immediately entered a battle state. However, he did not want to take advantage of Lin Yuan, so he decided not to use the sacred source life form in the battle. At that moment, he saw the phantom of the woman behind Lin Yuan suddenly change. The phantom of the woman closed her arms and embraced Lin Yuan in a gentle and devout manner. The moment she embraced Lin Yuan, the phantom behind Lin Yuan turned into a sword that could be held in one's hand. The scabbard of the sword was clearly engraved with the woman's appearance. However, in the princess sacred sword embrace state, the scabbard could no longer block the eerie sword light shining from the tip of the sword. Lin Yuan had already unsheathed the sword. Several dark crows were circling around the sword in Lin Yuan's hand. End of chapter. Chapter 1307. One after another, dark crows flew out of Lin Yuan's sacred sword's blade. Each dark crow was wrapped in the Dark Knight's murderous aura. It was as though countless life forms were slowly withering under the attack of the dark crows in the endless night. In the end, there were a total of 28 dark crows flying around the sword tip. Under the swing of Lin Yuan's sword tip, the 28 dark crows, which were attached with the power of dark death, formed an orderly line and attacked Anha. And he was stunned by Lin Yuan's fighting style. He did not expect Lin Yuan to not summon any more phase after activating the sacred source life form. Instead, he used the sacred source life form's ability to attack He. However, he only froze for a moment before regaining his wits. And he had keenly sensed a trace of dark element world power from the dark crows flying out of Lin Yuan's sword tip. This dark element world power caused He's expression to change drastically, and he did not expect Lin Yuan to be so powerful at such a young age. When he first heard from his master that the Moon Empress disciple had defeated Zhongzhe and become the champion of both the civil and martial arena, and he did not take it seriously, and he had asked his master about the Moon Empress disciple's age, and knew that Lin Yuan was only 17 or 18 years old. The strength of the Moon Empress disciple was roughly the same, and it was never the phase quality or grade that stopped the Moon Empress disciple. To the Moon Empress disciple, the phase grade and quality were often the limit that they could withstand. What really stopped the Moon Empress disciple was the Spirit Chi Professional's grade. The increase in a Spirit Chi Professional's grade had a lot to do with age. The 17 or 18-year-old Lin Yuan and the 23 or 24-year-old Zhong Zhe were at least one grade apart in terms of grade. Even if Lin Yuan used the Starlight Jitan's pollen, there were other ways to break through the grade 1 phase limit. As a C-rank Spirit Chi Professional, he possessed a Diamond/Fantasy breed Fae. It could not erase the huge gap in spiritual power between a C-rank Spirit Chi Professional and a Pinnacle B-rank Spirit Chi Professional. Previously, and he had thought that the Moon Empress disciple would become the champion of both the civil and martial arena, and that the Moon Empress had informed Chef Supreme in advance. In order for Lin Yuan to successfully obtain the prize of both the civil and martial arena, the Radiant Medal. After all, His Holiness's disciple had to fight for the position of Radiance Envoy. Otherwise, it would be no different from being a salted fish. But now Ink admitted that he was wrong. He could unleash an attack that contained the aura of the world, even if it only contained the aura of the world power. Without the actual power of the world, it was enough to contend against Zhong Zhe. He might even be able to defeat Zhong Zhe with this attack. And he hurriedly shouted, Mountain Suppressing Kuei, Cast Mountains Roar. Feet of the Earth Vein, Dry Land Solidification, an exclusive skill Forbidden Fruit of Earth. Then, use the Mountain Range Defense skill, and sacrifice the mountains to stop these crows. After instructing the Mountain Suppressing Kuei, and he shouted at the awakening hibernation drake that had already crawled out of the purple cocoon. Nightmare Drake, use water and earth transformation. Try your best to convert the water element in the sea into earth element. Then, I'll create the image of awakening hibernation and use the stone repelling body skill on the mountains summoned by Yu Kuei. And he had already displayed the strongest defense that he could achieve by relying on the Mountain Suppressing Kuei and the awakening hibernation drake. As the Mountain Suppressing Kuei leaped onto the island and let out a roar, nearly 70 towering mountains surged out of the entire island. The formation of these mountains completely destroyed the island's terrain. There was not even a place to land on the entire island. Lu Jie, the mother of Bloodbath, Yindai, Zhang Cheng, Sun Jiang, and the other spectators had a place to watch the battle after the elder behind and he shattered a mountain. These towering mountains could not stop the 28 dark crows that Lin Yuan controlled. The dark crows could easily pass through the gaps between the mountains. However, after checking the Mountain Suppressing Kuei and the awakening hibernation drake's true data, Lin Yuan knew that these mountains were the Mountain Suppressing Kuei's defense. Lin Yuan ordered the 28 dark crows to attack each of the mountains. The 2,000-meter-tall mountains were like paper in the face of the dark crows that were smaller than a palm. After each dark crow completely shattered the entire mountain, it would fly to the next mountain. And he did not panic at all, but his brows were tightly knitted, and his heart was filled with deep confusion. Just now, and he had ordered the Mountain Suppressing Kuei to use the mountain's roar. But no mountains had risen from the sea. At that time, and he had thought that the sea was too deep, and the Mountain Suppressing Kuei had not used his full strength. However, the Mountain Suppressing Kuei had clearly used his full strength. So why were there still no mountains emerging from the bottom of the sea? This is really fucking strange. The Mountain Suppressing Kuei could not display his strength to the greatest extent by relying on the earth elements on this island. In fact, when he had just landed on this island, Lu Jie had already given the Insect Queen 2 orders. He had ordered the Insect Queen to control the reef lice to use the calcium hardening and aura isolation to reinforce the bottom of the sea. Otherwise, the earth elements at the bottom of the sea might really be attracted by the Mountain Suppressing Kuei and summon thousands of mountains in the sea. Under the effect of the earth vein transformation, the activity of the earth elements contained in the entire island had suddenly doubled. The Mountain Suppressing Kuei, which originally only had 1 foot, had grown a foot that was completely condensed by the earth elements. The mountain-suppressing Kuei ran with both feet and headed straight for the forbidden fruit of earth that had condensed on the ground not far away. Seeing that the mountain-suppressing Kuei had swallowed the forbidden fruit that had condensed on the ground, and he shouted at the mountain-suppressing Kuei again. Mountain-suppressing Kuei continuously used the mountain's roar. Following in his order, the mountains on the island surged out like gophers. The mountains that had appeared earlier had not been shattered by the Dark Crow's attack. The new mountains had already pushed up the old mountains. The moment these mountains were pushed up, they blossomed with a thick earthy yellow light. Finally, these mountains turned into phantom images and stacked on the mountain-suppressing Kuei's body. Even though the mountain-suppressing Kuei had nearly 100 layers of mountains on his body, he was still diligently summoning the mountains. More illusions of the mountains stacked on top of his body to increase his defense. At the same time, more mountains were attacking Lin Yuan, who was holding the sacred sword. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan immediately used Blackie's exclusive skill, Spirit Chi Burst. He raised his hand and blasted the mountains that had risen up from the ground under his feet and in front of him. Blackie was now Diamond Eye/Fantasy Eye. Given Blackie's strength, even if the mountain-suppressing Kuei was just an ordinary Fae, Blackie would not be able to defeat it. Blackie would definitely not be able to defeat it. Moreover, the mountain-suppressing Kuei was a Fae with the bloodline of desolation. However, the power of the exclusive skill Spirit Chi Burst did not depend entirely on Blackie's strength. It also depended on the purity of the Spirit Chi used. ABC. Chapter 1308. The higher the purity of the Spirit Chi, the stronger the attack power of the Spirit Essence Burst. The purity of Lin Yuan's Spirit Chi was higher than that of a Class 5 Creation Master. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that it was the purest man-made Spirit Chi in the world. The extremely pure Spirit Chi gathered at one point and burst out with power, allowing Lin Yuan to shatter the mountains beneath his feet and in front of him. Facing the mountains around him, Lin Yuan repeatedly swung his right fist. Under Lin Yuan's right fist, not a single mountain that rose from the ground could pose a problem to him. Just as Lin Yuan was swinging his right fist to shatter the mountains, he suddenly felt a huge repulsive force coming from the mountains in front of him. This repulsive force prevented Lin Yuan from continuing to smash his right fist on the mountains. However, the repulsive force coming from the mountains didn't trouble Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan only needed to lift his leg and kick up a piece of rock. He would first use the Spirit Essence Burst to bombard the rock. With the rock as the node, he would use the Spirit Essence Burst's power to counteract the mountain's repulsive force. Then he would use his right fist to smash the mountain. Given Lin Yuan's skills, these were just small tricks that could be easily done. The island's earth elements had entered an extremely active state. As the waking hibernating drake turned the water elements into earth elements, the island's surface area had a slight tendency to expand. At this moment, 28 dark crows had already flown in front of the mountain suppression drake. They circled around and attacked the mountain suppression drake. Every dark crow's attack could shatter dozens of mountain phantoms around Yukuei's body and add a withered mark to the outermost mountain phantoms. Each withered mark would be accompanied by the disappearance of a dark crow. At the same time, these withered marks wouldn't disappear when the mountain shadows were destroyed by the dark crows. Instead, they would automatically attach to the next layer of the mountain shadows. As the 14 dark crows disappeared, the withered effect that could only be produced by gathering all 14 withered marks was triggered. The withered effect immediately caused the layers of mountain shadows around the mountain suppression drake to wither. The withered mountain shadows were like the sorrowful wails of the earth, splashing up a decaying mist. Anha was alarmed and quickly commanded the waking hibernating drake to ride the split waking hibernating statue in front of the remaining 14 dark crows. At the same time, he urged the nightmare dragon to use its skill hibernation change to use the raven's attacks to replenish the nightmare dragon's HP. At the same time, and he also got the waking hibernation nightmare dragon to use its exclusive skill, body of earth attraction, to release the strongest repulsive force. He then ordered the Nightmare Hibernation Drake to activate Dragon Body Liberation, gathering all the energy in its body onto its horn. He was prepared to use all his strength to attack the remaining Dark Crows after the awakening statue was destroyed by the Dark Crows. Apparently, Ink was ready to abandon the awakening Drake. He used the Waking Drake as a shield to block the Dark Crow's attack for Yukue. And his approach was right. After all, the Diamond X/Fantasy Vision, Yukue's comprehensive strength, was much stronger than the Diamond X/Fantasy Fortune Yukue. Although the Awakening Hibernation Nightmare Dragon was better at attacking than Zhen Yukue's skill, Mountain Ripper combined with Mountain Ripper 9 Shocks, was not any weaker than the Awakening Hibernation Nightmare Dragon's attack. However, and he had obviously underestimated the power of the remaining 14 Dark Crows. A Dark Crow rammed into the Awakening Hibernation image, directly shattering a small part of the Awakening Hibernation image. However, the Waking Hibernating Drake behind the Waking Hibernating statue was fully executing its exclusive skill, Earth Attraction Body. A massive repulsive force exploded with the Waking Hibernating Drake as the origin, pushing everything in the opposite direction of the Waking Hibernating Drake. The powerful repulsive force even compacted the island's soil by close to 3 meters. This massive repulsive force undoubtedly affected the remaining 13 Dark Crows. However, after paying the price of 3 Dark Crows, the Waking Hibernating statue was completely destroyed. The remaining 10 Dark Crows attacked the Waking Hibernating Drake's main body. Upon seeing this, the Waking Hibernating Drake didn't immediately unleash Dragon Body Liberation, and the attack condensed on its horn. Instead, it used the Awakening Hibernating statue's life force to attack the remaining Dark Crows. When 4 Dark Crows rammed into the Waking Hibernating Drake's body, the Waking Hibernating Drake unleashed Dragon Body Liberation. The terrifying white light collided with the 5 Dark Crows and produced a violent explosion. In the end, the severely injured Waking Hibernating Drake fell from the sky and onto the ground that it had been suppressing. From the smoke produced by the explosion, 3 Dark Crows drilled out. Under normal circumstances, these 3 Dark Crows should have been attacking the Waking Hibernating Drake. However, since Lin Yuan and he were just sparring, there was no need to harm the other party's Fae. The Dark Crows were all under Lin Yuan's control, so he left the Waking Hibernating Drake with one breath. Seeing that there were still 3 Dark Crows, and he quickly raised his hand and summoned a nearly 20-meter-long, 10-meter-tall earthen yellow lizard. This earthen yellow lizard's back was covered with a thick layer of crystal-like armor. It was obvious that the new Fae that he had summoned had an extremely powerful defense. However, after he summoned this lizard, he didn't have the time to issue any instructions to it. He could only let this lizard use its body to block the 3 Dark Crows that were attacking the mountain-suppressing Drake. Lin Yuan took a deep breath. After executing a few punches with the Spirit Pure Burst, he was only left with half of the Spirit Chi in his body. As a C-rank Spirit Chi professional, he didn't have enough Spirit Chi to fight with a B-rank Spirit Chi professional. Lin Yuan silently used Blackie's Spirit Injection on himself. Then he raised his right fist and sprinted toward the mountain-suppressing Drake. The 3 Dark Crows blasted on the lizard Fae that he had just summoned. Just 2 Dark Crows were enough to severely injure the giant lizard. Just as the lizard was facing 2 Dark Crows, and the 3rd Dark Crow was about to crash into the lizard, the 3rd Dark Crow changed its direction and went past the giant lizard, crashing toward he. Upon seeing the situation, he had no choice but to order the mountain-suppressing Drake to block in front of him. At that moment, Lin Yuan, who was close to the lizard, leaped and smashed his right fist on the back of the heavily injured giant lizard. Subsequently, Lin Yuan used the giant lizard's back as a node and leaped high, injecting most of the Spirit Chi in his body into his right fist. He swung his right fist again and smashed at the mountain-suppressing Drake, which was defending the last Dark Crow with all its strength. After that punch, Lin Yuan's strength was released, and he landed behind he. The moment he landed, Lin Yuan's left elbow neatly hit he's temple. The gale from the elbow blew up the hair on he's forehead, causing him to break out in cold sweat. and He's newly summoned giant lizard Fei fell to the ground after getting punched by Lin Yuan. Although the mountain-suppressing drake was not lightly beaten by Lin Yuan's punch, it was far from serious injuries. What really injured the mountain-suppressing drake was the last dark crow's attack. However, the mountain-suppressing drake still had the strength to fight, but he had already lost this battle. And his life was now tied to Lin Yuan's elbow. Tomorrow is a big scene. I hope the mother of Bloodbath can pull through. Small preview. I immediately went home after work and stayed up all night writing until now. My chest is stuffy. Requesting recommendation tickets, monthly trouble. Button is too busy at the end of the year. Please forgive me. End of this chapter. Chapter 1309. And he, who had suddenly regained his senses, felt that Lin Yuan's entire body was filled with the word evil. And he, who had fought with so many spirit chi professionals, had never seen a spirit chi professional like Lin Yuan's fighting style. Lin Yuan looked like a berserk humanoid fey. The outcome was decided, and he flipped his hand, grabbed the rainbow ball of light, and threw it at Lin Yuan. He then said with a complicated expression, "You win this time. You win this time. But if you use a sacred source life form, you won't necessarily win." Lin Yuan raised his eyebrows and caught the sacred source life form, he tossed over with a chuckle. He chuckled and said, "Unless you can block the power of the world again, you will still lose if you use the sacred source life form." With that, Lin Yuan walked toward Lu Jie, the killer butterfly, and the mother of Bloodbath with the sacred source life form. After thinking for a while, Lin Yuan threw the sacred source life form to the killer butterfly. The killer butterfly was stunned by Lin Yuan's action. However, it did not exchange any pleasantries with Lin Yuan. It happily accepted the sacred source life form. The killer butterfly felt as though it had married a rich second-generation heir. More importantly, this rich second-generation heir's looks were off the charts. It could not get enough of him. More importantly, this rich second-generation heir's father treats me even better. How embarrassing. Lu Jie and the mother of Bloodbath were used to Lin Yuan's generosity in distributing sacred source life forms to the people in the manor. However, this scene almost made Indai's eyeballs pop out of their sockets. Indai was greedy. How could an insect species fey that had just become a creation breed obtain a sacred source life form? How could she deserve it? I am the mighty sea monarch. Why haven't I found a single sacred source life form to contract, after becoming an immortal, for such a long time? Envious and jealous, Indai frantically swung the fins on her horn and slapped the ground with her fishtail, constantly venting the jealousy in her heart. The elder Sun Jiang and Zhang Qing looked at Lin Yuan with solemn eyes. The three people's solemn eyes were filled with disbelief. This was not the first time Sun Jiang had seen Lin Yuan fight with someone. However, when he saw Sun Jiang again, he was still amazed by Lin Yuan's peculiar attack method. Sun Jiang also realized that the 28 crows that Lin Yuan had conjured with the sacred source life form were much stronger than when he had dueled with Zhong Zhe in the civil and martial arenas. It turned out that this amazing young man had made such great progress in just a little more than a month. What a heaven-gifted genius! Sun Jiang wasn't the only one who noticed that his raven's withering strike had become stronger. As a holy sword wielder, Lin Yuan naturally noticed this as well. He had yet to use Morbius' exclusive skill, Pure Land of Bliss, to absorb the golden bead condensed by the creation earth vein. Recently, Lin Yuan had not let the princess use source power to enhance the Dark Death world. However, the Dark Crow Withering Strike's attack power had increased. The only change from a month ago was that the princess had increased her star level from 2 stars to 3 stars. It seemed that as Princess's star increased, the damage of her Holy Sword mode sword skills would also become stronger. Moreover, the increase was not small. During the fight with Zhong Zhe, the Dark Crow Withering Strike's power was equivalent to the full power attack of a Pinnacle Myth 2 Fey. Now, the Dark Crow Withering Strike's power had obviously entered the early stages of Myth 3, and his face flushed when he heard Lin Yuan's words. If not for the awakening hibernation drake, the suppressing mountain kuei, and the flowing earth drill lizard would have suffered serious injuries. And he really wanted to fight with Lin Yuan again to see who was bragging. That attack of yours was clearly your trump card. I don't believe that you can unleash another attack of such power. At that moment, the elder was behind In He. Seeing In He's expression, the elder gently patted In He's shoulder to comfort him. And he glanced at the old man beside him, then at Lin Yuan, who was tossing the sacred source life form he had just given to the others, and snorted coldly. He snorted and said, "Grandpa Gu, help me assess the island's losses. We will compensate them on the spot, and play with them. We will leave immediately." An awkward expression appeared on the elder's face. You and Lin Yuan fought on this island, and it has completely become a deserted island. Even if there were star web streamers who came to this island to film for survival, they would likely starve to death on the island. Thinking about what the island had been like when they had first arrived, the elder felt that it would be better for In He to compensate with an island. However, looking at In He's expression, the elder did not say anything in the end. As In He's path protector, the elder could not leave In He's side when In Dai, the Sea Empress, was present. Therefore, the elder waved his hand, and two lambs, which were obviously in camouflage, appeared beside the elder. After the old man instructed the two lambs ran in two different directions of the island. He assessed the island's losses, and his eyes abruptly turned cold when he saw In Dai looking at him with a gloating expression on her face. The elder behind In He also looked at In Dai with an unfriendly expression, but In Dai did not care. In Dai turned to the two sea kings beside her and said, "The two of you don't have to be so nervous." In Dai turned to speak to the two sea kings beside her. His Majesty's disciple represents His Majesty's face. He can't go back on his word after losing the duel. When the two sea kings heard In Dai's words, they knew that In Dai's words were not meant for them. Instead, he said it to Anha. Therefore, the two sea kings immediately chimed in and cooperated with In Dai to continue the conversation. Hearing In Dai's words, and he was infuriated, but he had no good words to refute her. In the end, and he snorted coldly and shouted at In Dai, "You have to pay for the losses on this island. What are you so proud of?" Hearing this, In Dai looked at In He arrogantly and said, "It's just the resources of an island. This emperor can easily lose them. It's not a big deal at all. This emperor is waiting for the collaboration with the Moon Empress disciple." When In He heard In Dai's words, he was so angry that his liver almost exploded, and he was a sensible man. Since he couldn't beat In Dai with words, and he had also lost the bet, it wouldn't be good for him to attack In Dai. And he simply ignored In Dai. Lin Yuan thought to himself, as he looked at the happy face of the predator butterfly, "I wonder if the sacred source life form that the predator butterfly obtained is suitable for the predator butterfly." After exploring the swamp world, Lin Yuan thoroughly understood how sacred source life forms came about. In fact, compared to casually giving the predator butterfly a sacred source life form, perhaps hunting a totem for the heaven-slaughtering butterfly that was compatible with the world of laws the heaven-slaughtering butterfly grasped would be even more compatible. However, it was not easy to hunt an apostle with medium or weak power of faith and a sacred source body in a dimensional world. Apostles had a variety of abilities. Even if he encountered hundreds of apostles, none of them would be suitable for the predator butterfly. ABC. Chapter 13:10. Moreover, it was not good to keep dragging the slaughter butterfly's sacred source life form. Among the 3 Emperor-class experts in Sky City, the mother of Bloodbath and Endless Summer had obtained sacred source life forms. Since the slaughter butterfly had not, it was inevitable that he would overthink. However, in Lin Yuan's future selection of sacred source life forms, especially when it came to choosing a second sacred source life form for himself, Lin Yuan would definitely search for an existence that was compatible with him in the swamp world before carrying out the contract. Morbius had once again fallen into a deep slumber because of that strange plant seed. Lin Yuan now knew that Princess was an existence formed by the fusion of 2 sacred source life forms. He wondered if Morbius would be able to fuse the 2 sacred source life forms again after it woke up. Suddenly, A majestic vitality and water element aura surged from the bottom of the sea toward the surface. A total of 13 whale cries rang out solemnly. Upon hearing these 13 whale cries, Lin Yuan's eyes lit up. These whale cries were unique to the island whale embryos when they were formed. The whale cries were the strongest when the island whale embryos were just formed. Every few hours, the island whale embryos would let out another cry. This was also why human spirit chi professionals could find the island whale embryos when exploring the distant sea. If not for this characteristic of the island whale embryos, it would be like searching for a needle in a haystack in the vast sea. Perhaps the island whale's valuation would be more than 10 times higher than the current valuation. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan took out a gold-green oxygen sea anemone and prepared to go into the sea to personally see the situation of this large-scale whale fall. Upon seeing that Lin Yuan was about to go into the sea, the mother of bloodbath suddenly recalled what had happened outside Indigo Azure City. Lin Yuan had gone into the sea alone and encountered danger in the sea. The mother of bloodbath's expression changed, and it hurriedly reached out to stop Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan, I'll go into the sea first to see the situation. You can go in after I'm sure there's no danger in the sea. Indai, who was walking toward Lin Yuan, hurriedly replied when she heard the mother of bloodbath's words. This sea region is in the Radiance Continent's territory. Due to the influence of the Radiance Sea Treaty, ordinary marine species will be exceptionally careful in this sea region. In addition, my territory is 200 nautical miles away, so there can't be any danger in this sea region. You can go down directly. I will also go down with you to see if I can be of any help. Upon hearing that, the mother of bloodbath ignored Indai and stubbornly flew in the direction of the whale's cry. Just as the mother of bloodbath hovered above the surface of the sea and was about to plunge to the bottom of the sea, a sudden change occurred. A long black thorn suddenly shot out from the surface of the sea. The black spike was so fast that it did not give the mother of bloodbath any chance to react. The black spike pierced through the mother of bloodbath. This black thorn had the ability to pierce through the mother of bloodbath's body, but it stopped abruptly inside. Then, the black thorn bloomed like an iron tree. Thousands of spikes appeared and directly pierced the mother of bloodbath's body from the inside out into a broken sieve. It made the mother of bloodbath look like a hedgehog that had curled up into a ball. This happened too suddenly. The void shadow demon didn't even have time to react. Even the old man behind him, he couldn't react. By the time the flame-stepping smoke beast reacted, the black thorn had already pierced into the mother of bloodbath's body. Lin Yuan's eyes turned red as he looked at the mother of bloodbath. The old man glanced at and then gritted his teeth as he commanded the flame-stepping smoke beast to bring the mother of bloodbath back to the island. The moment the flame-stepping smoke beast came into contact with the mother of bloodbath's body, 2 black thorns shot out from the sea that had turned dark red at some point. The flame-stepping smoke beast's strength had reached the peak of a mortal, unlike the mother of bloodbath, which was only a myth-breed fae. Coupled with the unforeseen event that had just happened, the flame-stepping smoke beast, which had arrived above the sea region, was extremely focused. Thus, the moment the 2 thorns shot over, the flame-stepping smoke beast stepped lightly with its feet. The green flames under its feet attacked the 2 black thorns. When the flame-stepping smoke beast brought the mother of bloodbath back to the island, the 2 green flames that were entangled with the black thorns had already been extinguished. But after the green flames were extinguished, the black thorns that had been burned by the green flames didn't disappear. There was still a small portion of them lingering above the sea region. The flame-stepping smoke beast carefully placed the mother of bloodbath on the island, and then spoke to the old man in a serious tone. Old Goo, the fae that shot out the black thorns is stronger than me. The flame-stepping smoke beast had just finished speaking when a woman in a dark red robe appeared above the sea. After the woman appeared above the sea, she flung her dark red robe. A pair of slender and powerful long legs were revealed under the robe. The shoes that the woman was stepping on had a high bulge that looked like a shark's tail. However, the bulge was much sharper than the tip of a shark's tail. The woman stared at everyone on the island, and her gaze lingered on the old man and the flame-stepping smoke beast for a while. Then, the woman stretched lazily and casually tossed a black thorn in her hand. Her face was filled with a playful expression, as if she was facing her prey. Behind the woman stood a total of 7 sea kings, and they all had an aura similar to the woman in the dark red robe. It was obvious that these 7 sea kings should be related to this woman in the dark red robe. When Indai saw the black thorns being shot out, her entire back was drenched in cold sweat. Indai couldn't be more familiar with these black thorns as she had escaped death many times before. Indai's eyes were filled with fear as she shouted angrily, "Mermaid Edge, why are you here? Why are you here?" The woman in the dark red robe, who was called Mermaid Edge, didn't even look at Indai, and her tone was full of indifference. "Of course, I'm here to kill you. You're just a Silver Sash race member that has just reached adulthood. How can you enjoy the gift of this large-scale whale fall? Don't think that I didn't notice when you spent so much effort to lure the 3 old whales that were migrating in my sea region. I didn't expect that after you were almost killed by me at the Class 5 Waterworld Dimensional Rift, you had mixed with humans. These humans are really unlucky. It'll be hard for them not to die after getting attached to you." When Indai heard that, it was no longer as simple as cold sweat seeping out of her body. Indai's heart chilled, and she knew that Mermaid Edge really wanted to kill her. Previously, Mermaid Edge definitely hadn't killed her, because she had already planned to take over this large-scale whale fall before making a move on her. She looked at everyone on the island, especially He, who had a grave expression, and Lin Yuan, who was crouching in front of the Mother of Bloodbath with bloodshot eyes. There was also Lu Jie, who was wearing the Spirit Guard standard mask, and whose face couldn't be seen clearly, but his body was surging with grief, anger, and killing intent. Indai planned to borrow the power of these 3 disciples to see if she could scare off Mermaid Edge. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.